We're hot, man.
Okay, it's time to go.
Shalom, y'all. I hope everybody's doing well today. Shabbat shalom. Hope everybody is having a blessed Shabbat. What was I going to say? Shout out to the brothers out there, isbhpk, Houston, Norfolk, Virginia, Rochester, New York, San Antonio, Cabo Cobb teaching in Guatemala. He has a congregation. Shalom to them. Everybody out here that's committed themselves to teaching this work and being good examples. Peace and love to all of y'all. I respect what you're doing. We respect what you're doing. Continue to do the good work. Today, we're going to go into our Sabbath. Last week we didn't get a chance to go into our normal routine, but I think that break off of routine was a good thing. And sometimes you can't necessarily just stick to script. Sometimes you got to follow the Spirit and let it go where it's going to go. So, before, let's get our prayers going. You ready? You got your stuff? Imagine Wapunya. You're rational? You're rational? We're good. That's us.
My bad. Always.
Imagine everybody's just.
I'll give you too.
I understand. Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai.
Ahawa'ah. Neftananao. Awar. Zayawam. The water. Aman.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the light this day. Thanks. So be it.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai.
Ahawa'ah. Neftananao. Rayach. Nayachacha. The water.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us sweet savor. Thank you. So be it.
Imagine Wapunya Yerah Shalom.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Gotcha.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai. Ahawa'ah. Neftananao. Hashabbat. Hashalom. The water. Aman.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the Sabbath and peace. Thank you. So be it.
Okay. Psalms 121. Anasya, Ayanyamya, Hahoyam, Ma'aya, Yabu'a, Isaiah, Yabu'a, Ma, Yahweh, Sha'isha, Shemaiah, Wa'aratiza, La'a, Yanathan, Lamawat, Regalia, Yala'a, Nawam, Shashamaya, Hana, Yala'a, Nawam, Wala'a, Yashan, Shashawamar, Yashara, Yahweh, Shemaiah, Yahweh, Tazalia, Ayo, Yanyamya, Yad, Hashemash, Yala'a, Hakaya, Bayawam, Wala'a, Halabana, Bala Yala, Yahweh, Yashemaya, Makol, Ride, Yashemar, the Pasha, Yahweh, Yashemar, Hawalakia, Wabawa'aya, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Iwalam, Aman.
I will lift up my eyes to the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Israelite Credo. Shema Yahshua,
Shema Yahshua,
Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yahshua, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yahshua, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad.
Hear Israel, Yahweh our power, Yahweh is one. Deuteronomy 6:4.
Lord's Prayer. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malak with Kaf, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashemayim, Natan Lanawa, Lacham, Ko, Yawam, Wasalach Lanawa, Chal Bathina, Kasalach Lanawa, Chawbaf, you know, Wala'ab, Tabia, no, Banasai 1, Abo, Hawashino, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Rakam, Kamalakwa, Waha'ara, Wahatapa'ara, Ra'ai Walamya. Amen.
Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this daily bread. Give us our daily bread, and forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
10 Commandments. La'ah, Yahaya, Lakab, Alahaya, Achaya, Ayo, Hanya.
Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Number 2. La'ah, Ta'ayna, Lakab, Hasal, Wala'ah, Ta'aybarim.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, nor serve them.
Number 3. La'ah, Falach Wacha, Sham, Yahweh, Bashawa.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
Zakar. I'm sorry, number 4. Zakar, Hayawam, Hashabbat, Laquadashwa.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
5. Kabad, Abaka, Ya'amaka.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Number 6. La'ah, Tharataza.
Thou shalt not kill, murder.
Number 7. La'ah, Thana'ah.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8. La'ah, Thaganah.
Thou shalt not steal.
Number 9. La'ah, Tha'ayna, Shakwar.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10. La'ah, Thachamad, Ko, Asherah, Lara'aika.
Thou shalt not covet anything which is thy neighbor's.
Barakatah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai. Ha'awa'ah. Nathan Hathawara.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the law.
Okay, Israel, you shot it.
The Shabbat. So take seats.
It's like Baba Kusha, I thought. Alrighty. Like I said earlier, we didn't get too far in the class from last week. So what we're going to do is pretty much finish off what we didn't get a chance to finish off last week. So what that was, it was a completing of the prayers that Solomon had in dedicating the temple. And after we go into the prayers and the finishing and the dedicating of the temple, then we're going to go into today in description some of the exploits that he did in establishing his kingdom or in perfecting his kingdom. And the trading that he established, the beauty of the house that he did prepare for himself.
God.
It took 7 years to complete the sanctuary, but 13 to complete his own home.
Okay.
He went all out with his crib. And we're going to go into like the beauty and majesty of his home and how he operated, operated on a geopolitical level and on a diplomatic level with the rest of the world, and to show how he dealt with the rest of the world, and how he showed the rest of the world the beauty and majesty of Israel.
And it shows as a future similitude of how Israel in the future is going to deal with the different nations.
Con. And it just showed how he dealt. We'll go on to the rest of it as we go. But we want to kind of today get to his climax before we start going into the idolatry next week. Because that's definitely going to happen too. There's a rise and a fall to Solomon, and we're going to focus on his peak here. And then next week, hopefully we get all this information out, then we'll go on to the downturn where he started going left and started losing focus and all that stuff. So for here, we're going to start off in the Josephus, because that was where we kind of left off last week. Josephus, yeah, he's got it. We're in Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, book 8, chapter 4, paragraph 4 from the top.
Book 8, paragraph 4. You were saluting the reader?
Chapter 4. Let's get my wall in first.
Well, I gotta get the chapter salute.
Okay, let's get you saluted,
Okay.
and then we'll go get you set up from there.
Ma'awala, Shah Shabbatah, Ban Yahweh, Ban Yasharah.
Ma'awala, Shah Shabbatah, Ban Yahweh, Ban Yasharah, and Masha. Bro, Yahweh Hashem Hashem Kitah.
Yahweh Shemi Ashai Barakatham.
All right. So once again, for everybody online, it's on the screen. Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, book 8, chapter 4, paragraph 4 from the top.
Book 3.
Book 8.
Book 8. Okay.
Chapter 4, paragraph 4.
Paragraph 8.
Where we find it?
Hey, what's the page in that blue book?
Page 220.
There we go.
Paragraph 4, not paragraph 8.
Thank you.
Okay.
Page
Where
220.
it say when Solomon had?
Yes.
Alright, come.
So once again, this goes right after when Solomon sent his prayers up to the Most High, and asking the Most High to look after Israel, and pretty much explaining, because when he was doing this, he was facing the temple. On the other side, there were the people surrounding beyond the outer courts. So he was sitting back here communicating to the Most High as that smoke had come down. As smoke had come down, he was praising the Most High and saying that this temple was going to be that beacon for Israel to always come to. And then he would sit back here, and on the other side was talking to Israel about the importance of pursuing the Heavenly Father.
And it was prophesied that we as a nation, if we ever declined from our borders, we had some place and some focus to come back to. For the Most High. Most High put a backdoor policy or a stop.
It was a reminder.
A reminder. Said we didn't sit here and lose. We lost ourselves, lost our way by idolatry or by negative. We always had a path to come back to the Father.
Okay.
That was
Okay.
really
Good.
in that class.
Good. So, with all that being said, the prayer had at that particular point finished, and then he starts to commence to the sacrificing of the animals, and we'll see with the Most High how he responds to that. So let's get that started.
The Antiquities of the Jews, book 8, chapter 4, paragraph 4, 118 reads, when Solomon had said this, and had cast himself upon the ground, and worshipped a long time, he rose up and brought sacrifices to the altar. And when he had filled it with unblemished victims,
With unblemished.
Victims.
And we talked about that last week, about how the Most High wants that pure sacrifice. That's what he wants. And nowadays, since the sacrificing of animals are done away with, the unblemished victim is what? Our personal life. our hopes and dreams,
Yeah, how about
our
that?
passions in this world
Yeah.
is the unblemished victim that has to be
Yeah.
given up.
The things we care about
The
most.
things that we want, that we care about in the world,
Yeah.
is that unblemished victim that we have to give the Most High in that purest sacrifice.
Seed of our passion.
Yeah, the seed of our passions, and that's what He wants. And as we continue to grow, we initially start shaving off. I remember some people had a challenge giving up pork. That was a battle, and then it goes from pork to the club to, and then the list continues to grow depending on where you're at in your spirit,
In your development.
in your development.
And people think that there's no Most High because, I could do what I want to do. Most High will curse you, bro.
Well, the thing is this is, I hate to say it like this, Most High pretty much lets us know where there is no law, there's no transgression. Once you know the law, now you're on the hook.
Exactly.
Listen, when I was ignorant, didn't know nothing, hey, I didn't know nothing. Nothing from nothing leaves what? Nothing.
Right.
You gotta have something. You're stupid.
Gotta get up,
Nothing
get out,
from
get
nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if you didn't know the law, you didn't know the scriptures, then you know what? You weren't going to be held to any standard. But now we know. Now you're going to start realizing, when we start varying from what we are instructed, that's the best way for a person who doesn't understand the Most High to start learning the Most High.
That's true.
Once you're shown right from wrong, and then you choose to do wrong, and you start dealing with consequences that you hadn't dealt with before, that's that red light. Hey, Most
There's
High's
the Most
real.
High.
There's the Most High right there.
You're going to find out. You're going to find out.
So this is the whole situation, and as you continue to grow and elevate and understanding, the Most High requires more and more of those things that we hold on to, that we try to hold on to in ourselves. So anyway, I don't want to make a class about that again, but this unblemished victim, there was a lot of significance in the unblemished sacrifice.
That matters.
That really mattered. We went over a lot of class like that. If you go back, year one, we went over a lot of those unblemished classes and the necessity to sacrifice that pure side of us.
God.
We went over that, and everything's cataloged. So let's continue.
And when he had filled it with unblemished victims, he most evidently discovered that the Most High had with pleasure accepted of all that he had sacrificed to him.
So even on this, most of the things written aforetime are written for our learning.
Our learning.
Was the Most High just appreciative of the unblemished animals, or was it the attention to detail and the sacrifice?
And the work ethic.
But you see, this is the thing. I don't think we as Israelites understand. Matter of fact, before we do it, I want to read it, and then we'll explain it with a little more clarity. Read on. It says that. Read it from the top again. We're just going to let it run. I want to bring out a point.
He most evidently discovered that the Most High had with pleasure accepted of all that he had sacrificed to him. For there came a fire running out of the air and rushed with violence upon the altar.
That's insane. And listen, how would a person who saw that ever think the Most High isn't real anymore? Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Why would a person have the boldness and confidence to just break laws and sin and go bananas out after you see a fire violently coming out of the sky and going right at that altar spot having direct hit? Pow!
And the whole nation saw this.
No, listen, and then next week you're gonna sit back here and serve God's out? That's bananas out. That's really crazy. But let's keep going.
In the sight of all, and caught hold of and consumed the sacrifices. Now when this divine appearance was seen, the people supposed it to be a demonstration of the Most High's abode in the temple, and were pleased with it, and fell down upon the ground and worshiped.
Now listen, all I want to bring out of this point is, I think it's very important that we go back to all the work and all the time and all the meticulous detail that Solomon went into to put together the temple. The attention to detail, the meditation. I'm not talking about chop up meditation. I'm talking about thought that it took to put the work into the temple. and all the dedication and all the man hours and all the tireless nights that it took to build this temple up for the Most High to determine that he was pleased with it. Because that is the same painstaking process that we have to go through if we want our works to be acknowledged and appreciated by the Heavenly Father. And I just don't think as a nation we're conscious enough about the type of work and how thorough you have to be in your work. Now, we're not building a physical temple, but you'll sit back and read in the New Testament how we are compared to the temple of the Heavenly Father.
1 Corinthians 14.
There you go. So the whole point is this: if we're the Most High's temple, then shouldn't we sit back here and be putting ourselves together similarly to what Solomon and the nation was putting themselves, how Solomon and them were putting the physical temple together with the amount of same detail, the attention to detail. Now, if we're talking about our spiritual building, how much attention are you putting into your diet? How much attention are you putting into your mindset, your work ethic, your discipline, your humility? Listen, I was sitting back here and I was reading this Hebrew and I was like, man, listen, everything you do, you're supposed to do with all your might. How well do you enunciate Hebrew? How well do you sit back here and put into the little things we do for the Most High? Because all those things were what was done to make the temple great. It was the little things. It was the attention to detail with how the temple was formed and framed, and how you had master artificers putting together the wood, framing the wood, shaping the wood, and then putting gold to identically fit and match what was put together with the wood. It was masterful work of the brass people, men who was putting together the brass and shaped the brass. All I'm saying is the same attention and dedication and specificity that was putting into this temple to make it grand. Are we doing the same thing in our spirit?
You can tell the difference when somebody puts their spirit into something as opposed to just put that up there and just go ahead and slap that over and it'll be all right.
And it's the thing is this: we think we're fooling the Most High because the Most High Most High's eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. He knows when we're giving our best effort. He knows when we're half-assing. He knows when we're sitting back here and just barely going through the motions. Are we barely going through the motions with Him? Because a lot of times we expect a whole lot. We expect a whole lot, but we don't put in, once again, we want gold blessings, but we don't put in gold works. And I think we all fall short of it. We all fall short of gold works, but damn, who's trying every day? Who's making changes? Who's chipping away at those weaknesses? So the Most High can start really recognizing you for the works that you're bringing to the table. I just think that's really important for us to kind of grasp, because a lot of Israel just gets through the motions. Another day of work, another day in hell, another day in Babylon, wicked ass Babylon, 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 Babylon. I get it. But what are we doing in wicked Babylon?
In the midst of it.
In the midst of Babylon, are you perfecting your temple? That's the challenge. Anyway, you want to say something earlier?
No, I'm good.
I kind of should listen. Kind of want to go into Corinthians, man, and change up the whole class again. I kind of want to do it.
Chapter 3.
I got to get the right one, the right chapter.
Talking about the temple?
Yeah.
Chapter 3.
Let's go into it. Part of me wants a low key or high key or middle key or whatever the hell key. I kind of want to do it. Let me see. Let me see. You know what? 2 Corinthians 3?
1 Corinthians chapter 3, sir.
It's not. Well, I don't want that. We can go that all. We've done that. The gold, the silver, the precious stones. I'm talking about the temple. You know, I'm gonna have to go.
Stones?
Nah, you know what? I think the temple analogy that I'm looking for is in Hebrews. Let me see, man.
I don't know what you're looking for, son.
God, I get it, brother. Give me a half a second, Joe. If I can't find it, we'll just move forward.
Need some context clues.
Matter of fact, it could be through 1 Corinthians 5. Second Corinthians 5.
Second Corinthians 6.
I was thinking more 5, but you know what? Nah, you know what? I don't want to do this.
Ephesians chapter 2, 21.
It's like a chapter. It's a chapter. It's not just a verse. It's a chapter that explains how, you know, our earthly temple, our earthly tabernacle is compared to let me see. Well, see, that's where I was at 2 Corinthians 5. I was on there, but it's a little, you know. I know 1 Corinthians 3:16 talks about the temple and the falling of the temple. I know that, but it's something more, and no,
you mean Hebrews chapter 13? We have an altar whereof they have no right to eat or serve.
It's okay, because Hebrews really deals with how the temple and the altar was referring to Christ, and it compares the altar and the temple and all the whole process of the temple was connected to Christ. Okay, that's what Hebrews kind of deals with.
Hebrews 9, 9 and 11.
That's what I was looking at.
But Christ being come a high priest of good things to come by a greater and more perfect tabernacle.
No, well, like I said, like I just said, that is not going to be what's connecting it here. I want to show how we're still that temple of the Most High. I mean, we can go to 1 Corinthians 3. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 3:16. Let's do that. Just to get something out.
I'm sorry, 11. Joe class.
Let's see. I guess we can. I go to 1 Corinthians 3:11 a lot. But okay, let's do this. Let's do 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 9 down.
Yeah, there it is.
We'll go from 9 down.
God. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 9. Read.
So what we're doing now in 1 Corinthians 3 and 9 is dealing with the type of foundation that's being laid. What type of spiritual foundation are you laying for yourself? We've talked about just now about this temple and how the foundation that was laid for the temple was the Most High approved it. The work, the details, the dedication. The Most High approved that work. Okay? Josiah, if we're tired, we're going to the kid room, bro. Okay? If we want to take naps, we got to take Mimi's over there. So, read on. Read that.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 9 reads, "For we are laborers together with the Most High."
So the Most High is like, we're laborers together in this for Him, because what we're laboring for Him. We're making sacrifices and changes and alterations in consciousness and consideration of the Heavenly Father. Read on.
Ye are the Most High's husbandry.
Mm-hmm.
Ye are the Most High's building.
Mm-hmm. We are the Most High's building. So, if we're the Most High's building, we have a responsibility for what? Upkeep, maintenance, development, It's our responsibility. Most High gave us a vessel. He gave us a body. What are we doing with this body? Are we going to make this body spiritual? Are we going to make alterations and improvements? Or are we going to sit back here and just burn it out and run it to the ground? Read on.
Verse 10, according to the grace of the Most High, which is given unto me, as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon.
Mm-hmm.
But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon.
Now listen, we're also talking about we're looking at our individual building, and we're also looking at how the Most High has built our nation up. From the time Christ, Paul, all the way down, and how the church has been built, how camps and schools have been built. And he says, be careful how you contribute and what you bring to the table in this work. Just like Paul had a responsibility to make alterations and changes in his spirit, and he was judged off of how much work and commitment and dedication he made to the work, so are we. So are we. Read on.
God.
That's why it says, take heed how you build. Take heed about the changes and alterations the Most High is requiring you to make. Read on.
But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon. For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Yahushua.
God. So he's telling you, any other foundation that you're trying to put together other than Christ pretty much is not acceptable. Pretty much is not acceptable. Yes, sir.
I think it was also interesting. I was looking at the structuring of a foundation when you're building a home and you level everything out. You always start when you're trying to get your measurements for your foundation. You always start with the what? The cornerstone. And that's
The chief cornerstone.
Exactly.
Good.
I just thought that was good.
Because Christ is the chief cornerstone. But what about Christ was the chief cornerstone? His example.
Right.
His example and his commitment was the foundation of everything else he builds. If there's a desire, if there is a commitment to serve, regardless of the conditions, then you have a firm foundation. Part of the issue that mess with us is that our dedication is conditional. Our commitment is conditional. If our commitment is conditional, then the foundation is what? The foundation is going to crack. It's not going to settle. That's the first thing. Our commitment to serving Christ and our willingness to serve him under any condition is the foundation of building any type of building.
Can I say this?
Because what is a foundation? It has to last through anything. The foundation can't crack.
It has to be enough to support everything else.
Exactly. So is your faith, is your desire to serve the Most High so steadfast that whatever happens in your life is not going to change and bend you and break you from what you made a decision to serve and do for him as soon as you walked in these doors? What you going to say?
It depends on how that foundation cures. Because for foundations take time to cure. There's certain, if you put your foundation, you just try to just get it over with, and you don't put your time, care, and attention that this foundation is properly set the correct way. Because there could be, everybody has a foundation.
Yep.
But was it correctly set? You might have to
For
start
a
over.
proper period of time.
You might have to crack that foundation, start it over. The whole trial. That happens to people. And I'm not saying, but brothers get washed out the truth, and they come back. That's you getting your whole foundation reset from scratch.
Yeah.
That's really what happens.
What I was going to say is, none of us are mind readers. None of us know what we're going to have to lose coming in. None of us really can foresee the future.
Nope.
None of us can foresee the fact that you might lose a wife.
Nope.
Nobody can foresee that you might have to lose kids. You might have to lose things serving the Most High. When you first come in, you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Want the breakdowns, bro.
You like that? Jesus! You want to go and serve the Most High, and you're 1,000% about serving the Most High. But what ends up happening is You don't know until down the line all the things you have to suffer. So that can't be your foundation. Your foundation can't be in how much you can see down the line. Your foundation has to be what? How well do you study? Are you committed to studying? Are you committed to being in class? Are you committed to brotherhood? Are you committed to communication? These are these foundations that can sustain you through whatever ups and downs and loss that you might endeavor in your life.
Do I have the proper components? Because you have to have the proper components.
That's your foundation. That's what keeps everything else, that's what makes everything else stable.
Mm-hmm.
That was why when the temple was made, there were particular stones that they were sat back here carving out and perfecting the symmetry. And they were putting them together up in a mountain and bringing them down and just perfectly setting them in place.
So that it's built to last.
Yes.
Because people that half build their foundation, because they're in a rush, they're not paying attention, it's not important, I'm bored.
Or they have ulterior motives.
Or they have motives that aren't 100% spiritual. They have mixed, because we could say alternative motives, but it's really a mixed, brothers have mixed,
motives.
Conflicting motives.
Yes.
That's why people want the best of both worlds. When you want the best of both worlds, that's proof that you have conflicting motives within you.
Because you know what the crazy thing is? When you're studying, when you're learning, what made the men at the end, when the men were getting palms in Second Esdras, what made them so special? That angel told Ezra, listen, these men followed the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. What makes a person follow the Lamb or follow Christ whithersoever he goeth? What do you need foundationary wise to say, you know, I'm going to go wherever the Most High in Christ wants me to go. I'm going to push it as far as I need to do. I'm going to give up whatever I got to give up to follow Christ. That's the type of foundation that has to get built initially. And there's certain habits and approaches that we have to learn early that will allow us to continue to transcend and move forward. Okay? So the foundation, your study habits, your willingness to continue to give more to Him. That's the foundation of humility.
The ability to take correction.
Yes. That's so important.
The ability to be flexible. Because what happens is, this is how you know, brothers, in the process of breaking, when you lose
and sisters too.
And sisters too. If I lose flexibility. Because flexibility means I adapt to the environmental change around me.
Because that's what humility is.
This was required of me, but now this is required of me unexpectedly.
Yep.
Certain things are unexpectedly required of us that we don't have developed at the moment.
Exactly, and that's why I said you can't mind read what you have to change. But what you can be is to be able to study and read and be humble enough for the Most High to keep changing you and allowing you to adapt, and He can keep putting you in different arenas, and you keep being pliable. So that foundation is so important. And He said there's no other foundation that you can lay besides Christ's method that He laid. And what you said was so perfect, because a lot of people will go 3, 4, 5, 7 years in the truth and then realize, oh snap, shalom sis.
Shalom.
Let's go 4 or 5 years in the truth, and then you look up and you got to sit back here and start over again. Or starting over again also means, you know what, having to relearn a lot of things that I didn't learn from my youth.
Exactly.
Because that's what's the breaker of men. When you got to sit back here and relearn approaches, relearn lessons that you should have learned year 1, year 2, year 3. That's what breaks men. Is that what you want to say?
And what happens is, the heartbreaker is when you think you got it. Theoretically, you have it.
Yes.
In application in the real world, you don't. You read scriptures about the power of the Lord and Christ and faith, and you're like, yeah. And then life shows you scenarios. Hey, all the scriptures you got, can't apply them. Not like you think you could.
Well, that's why humility is so important. Because humility, if you're humble, you have a proper evaluation of where you're at. That's so hard to get people to see. You know, what is one definition of pride? an unduly high opinion of oneself. Unduly high opinion of oneself. What kills us most of the time, our pride is based on the fact that we have an idea of what we think we are. But in reality, we're not even close to what we think we are. And am I humble enough to let people work on my shortcomings, show me where I'm really at, and then in my humility allow a person to show me where I'm really at, so that I can keep working on these deficiencies with counsel and approaches to keep fixing the things inside.
And that's not to take anything from the point. Show you where you're really at in totality.
Yes.
Because men, what makes us blind is that we do see where we're at in just one particular arena.
Yeah. And most of that time is we want to focus on where we're strong at.
That arena.
We want to focus on our strong suits, and we're not willing, like David said, let the righteous smite me, it should be a kindness. True humility is to look for somebody and to connect yourself to somebody who can show you that there's a better way.
And we want to identify. We identify, like people identify as an hourglass, they identify as a spider, they identify as a Pinocchio doll.
Yeah.
Right? The same way they're not logically sane because they identify something that they're not.
Yeah.
We are just as improperly
balanced,
mentally disordered.
Yes.
When I want to identify only with my strong suit. Oh, I'm a great writer, so I must be strong and potent in every area of my life. No, you're good at this arena.
Or even, and I'm not trying to make this ultra deep, but even in our perceived greatness of writing, there's a bunch of writers who are better than you. There are a bunch of people. There's a bunch. If you think your strong suit is studying, you don't think somebody else is a better studier than you. You think somebody else's work ethic is? You think you're the creme de la creme in work ethic, in counseling?
From where I come from my immediate circle of life.
From the hood, in the barrio,
my block,
or in the hood, in a 30 square foot radius.
I'm the best in 63rd.
Listen, I thought 63rd was whack, guy.
I'm the best in 63rd, bro. You tell me. I'm the only one being the bottom of 63rd. Listen,
that's actually hilarious.
That's what people do.
And people do that. Yeah. Everybody always told me, I was special, I was sharp. Okay, in your little corner in the black eye. Listen, I'm not going to be sarcastic, but you get the point.
But they exist. They exist.
Oh, it exists everywhere.
Ricky's
I knew
everywhere.
I was special. What made you special?
My
mom made it.
Look what I did.
Listen. I got straight A's. Like, you're the first guy that got straight A's in kindergarten, B. What are you talking about? It's just easy. Let me stop.
I colored the lines, and wasn't nobody colored lines back then.
Back then, I was the only one. But there's a lot of pride there. And the crazy thing is that's when people hold their hat off. In a world where you face none but failures, you want to hang your hat on one or two things. You want 2 shining moments. I scored 4 touchdowns in a single game. Yeah. You realize a lot of people score 4 touchdowns in a single game. That's not that impressive.
Yeah.
I'll never forget I took my son out to like some football camps years ago, and he's dominating in his like 6'8" San Antonio, Texas high school football. It's a shit. Excuse my French. Yeah. I said, let's go to Dallas.
Ooh.
Let's go. Let's go to UT. Let's go to UT football camp. And I was like, and I already knew it. Going in because there's athletes, and then there's greater athletes, and then there's greater athletes.
There's dogs and there's wolves out there.
Listen, then it's like, what the hell? I mean, we was in line, bro. We're them regular dudes, me and my son. We was in line. The campus is phenomenal, and it just feels, it smells like money out there at UT. It just smells like money. The energy's out of this world. Everybody wants to show out. Then there's this dude behind us. He's like 6'7", bro, 6'8", bro. And he's just a big dude. And we was like, what position you play? Yeah, man, I'm D-line. I'm like, wow, 6'7". And it was just, and you could tell, the coaches looked right past us. And they were just like, hey, what's going on, young man? Where are you from? What school you from? And I was like, That's about right. That's
how
about
it
right.
works.
And then you got guys. Who
Yeah.
were playing the same position he was playing. It was corner. And this is a different type of footwork. You either got it or you don't. You can train only so much. You sit back here and you start running that 40. That separates the men from the boys. You sit back and run that 40, and you run it, you know, everybody talks about laser or non-laser, whatever, bro. Either you go, is you running a 4.4, 4.5 or not? And you can, there's some quick dudes running like 4.6s and 4.7s. That ain't bad, but it's different. You got a guy running 4.4, laser. And he looks like he's just gliding. He's just gliding. It looks effortless. Like, what the hell is just happening? And then you wonder, how come the coaches is talking to him and not this guy? Listen, numbers don't lie, bro. You're working hard, you're sweating just as much as he's sweating. You're sweating more than he's sweating. I got more technique. Listen, bro, this guy just got it, bro. And can you sit back here and realize that you have so much more to go and you have to work more? Can you accept that there's just different levels of ability and talent and skill?
And I guess blessed skill is a word for it. People are born with something.
There's God-given ability, right?
Yeah.
And then you sit in a support ward. There's like a golden triangle in Texas, right? And it's like all East Texas, Dallas, Houston. That corridor, I'll never forget. We were at an SMU camp. And they were talking about where all the coaches were going to be. And all the coaches that were difference makers that made decisions, they were going to Houston camps, Dallas camps, East Texas camps. And then for the linemen, they were going to San Antonio, West Texas. You know, because they don't listen. The real athletes, the corners and the receivers and all that stuff. The real athletes, speed guys, the linebackers. We go in this corridor, and all we're going to do is pick from these guys. You know what? If you're a lineman, you got a chance in San Antonio. Unless you just look the part and you're good. Oh, what am I saying? I don't want to get into this whole sports fiasco. All I'm trying to explain is that in your block, in your area, you can be great, but there's so many more levels that you have to go to, even in a physical, carnal arena. But it's the same thing in the spirit. And that's part of being humble enough to build your foundation on that. I have a lot to learn. I have many more levels to achieve if the Most High is going to be happy with me. And then can you accept the fact that along that the changes never stop. There's always more things to fix and change in yourself. It never ends. But a lot of times we can't accept that. There's Most High always wants more. There's always more to change. And that foundation, that's what Christ was about. How do we know Christ was about that? Because Christ was teaching the sinners to sin no more, right? Yeah. And he left it with that. Sinners, follow the law. Oh, you guys are the masters of the law? Let me show you where you're off at. Where you're off at is you're not taking your time in being with the sick. You want to hoard your information. You want to sit back and look the part, but not live it. You don't want to be that example or that ensample to the people. That was the Pharisaic issues. The Pharisees would walk around here with the longest phalanges, the longest fringes, acting holier than thou, but didn't want to get their hands dirty with the people. That was why Christ stayed around the publicans and the sinners. His presence was always around the ones who needed him. You know why? That was what the Pharisees weren't doing. Once the Pharisees achieved a certain level of being a lawyer, then they started tapping into this elitist mentality. Let me not be there for the sick. Let me not deal with the BS. I don't want to deal with these sinners. I'm going to be around people just like me. And that Christ kept showing them that feeds my spirit. My spirit. Versus me giving to the people who need me. I don't want to be. That life of service is harder than being around a bunch of like-minded people looking down on the weak. That was what Christ was attacking in our people, elitism in our people. But what was his overall example? What was the foundation that Christ laid? Whether you've been in the knowledge in this Torah for 20 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you always got to give more, and you always have to be humble enough to adapt to change. That's the foundation that Christ laid.
Yeah.
So if your foundation doesn't align with Christ's foundation, then you're spinning your wheels. Then people end up getting angry and bitter about their experience serving Christ, because they thought it was one thing when it was really something else. A lot of people come in and try to get this knowledge so they can sit back and look down on people, flex on people, roll with this spirit of superiority.
They have a delusion
around
of grandeur.
people.
They have a delusion of grandeur. And delusions of grandeur are this fantasy it's a fantasy of authority that people have.
Mhm.
And you know what? You're gonna get your balloon popped or your bubble popped.
Yep.
Because you're gonna realize that when you get to that seat, quote unquote, of authority, it's nothing like you perceive.
Huh? It's a life of greater service.
Yeah.
The higher you go up, the more service and the more is required of you if you're doing it right.
Then you have to exit stage left, because then you're gonna realize, okay, I had to make up a reason why I'm angry so I can exit.
Yeah.
Because this is not what I expected. But the whole time, people are instructing you and telling you that if you read the Bible enough, you realize the Bible is about a life of service, not being a king, not a kingship.
And listen, I want to make sure I re-center where we're at, because
Yeah.
everything is being said is perfect, but we're still dealing with, we're establishing connections between the temple that was put together during the time of Solomon,
Yeah.
with the temple that we're putting together,
Yeah.
and the similarities between the two, and how the Most High looked down upon our offering, or the offering that Solomon made in the temple and was approved of it,
And bless it.
versus the offering that we're giving the Most High on a daily basis.
The rate and quality of effort.
The rate and quality of effort in comparison to the rate and quality of effort that we did during the temple time.
Come.
And why that's so important to determine why we're getting blessed or why we're not getting blessed.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times there's this big question, how come the Most High is not coming through for me? And a lot of times we want to get angry or frustrated. The real question is, are we doing what we're supposed to do? Are we giving the amount of effort that's required to get what you're expecting?
And with the alacrity class we had last, maybe
That was like 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Was that class?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, bro.
Wow.
Yes.
Time's flying, bro. With the alacrity class, not only is it the amount of effort and diligence you give something, it's what spirit, the quality of spirit you do it, matching that effort, matching that diligence.
Huh?
They're both required to be simultaneously
Yep.
clear and simultaneously proper.
Because you know, it's all of it is relative. Listen, I don't know any of us who's really tried to achieve something in the world, whether it's college degree, whether it's an athletic scholarship, whether it's whatever it is. If a person who was really serious about something, hell, it could be art, it could be rapping, it could be anything. For anybody who was serious about something, how much work did you have to put into it? And then when you sit back here and you get past sweat and just basic dedication, there's more layers to it. There's more than just working hard. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
You have to now, after you cross the threshold of working hard, and there's only so much time in the day to accomplish what you're going to accomplish, then what are we dealing with? How good of a student are you in the field you're dealing with? Are you a great student? How is your attention to detail? Do you work on the little things? Do you love doing the little things? Listen, we laugh talking about rap all the time, and listen, if it's great rappers, are people just great at anything just because they're great at it? Because even when we're talking about football or sports, you can be a top-end athlete, but that ain't good enough either. To be great past that, it's based on detail, mindset. How great of a student are you? Are you methodical in the things that you do? All these things matter. All of it matters. Just like all of it matters in our realm. All I'm trying to explain is the formula to success is universal, whether we're dealing with on a physical arena, a worldly arena, or a spiritual arena. And our temple and how proper and how good we build our temple is based on that attention to detail also. Once we go past the threshold of work ethic, Then it's attention to detail, mentality. How happy are you in doing it? All these elements are necessary so that at the end, when everything's tallied up, then the Most High gonna say, yeah, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Come enter into rest with me. All these things matter. You understand what I'm saying? And just about all the detail that was put into that temple and all the thinking. Listen, Solomon just didn't wake up and just start making shit happen. He had to plan, think, execute, maintenance, stay on top of things. A lot of thought went into that magnificent structure. How much thought are you putting into your next endeavor, your next challenge, the next obstacle provided in front of you, presented in front of you? Whether you had a statement or a question or.
I sent you a scripture on that.
I just turned it this way. I didn't see it.
I know you're talking. I'm saying that it was on that mindset of not accepting the fact that you may have to learn more, and that's that mind of not being able to be taught again to secure your mind.
Well, you know the crazy thing is, we wouldn't be talking about not wanting to get taught again if a person really wants it. Because it still goes back to if you want it or not. Listen, in the world, that MLB contract, that NFL contract, that NBA contract is dangled in front of people to determine how much a person wants it. The kingdom is dangled in front of us to determine how much we want it. We think we can provide low caliber, uninspired effort and get accepted into the kingdom because we follow the Torah. That doesn't even make sense. That's not real life. That's religion. If we think we can sit back here, drag ass, and not commit, not take anything serious, that's not even how life works. Whatsoever is bound on earth is bound in heaven. Listen, we're still dealing with the same formula for success. We give bare minimum, but want the kingdom? That's like saying a person wants to sit back here and be a Rhodes Scholar, but don't like to study too much, don't like to read too much. Well, you're in the wrong profession, buddy. What's that at?
Me and Dawiyah, we will always say, like, people want gold membership status rewards, but they put in 1040 work.
Yeah.
1040 work.
And when we're dealing with the foundations laid by Christ, he's telling us that is the acceptable foundation that Christ is expecting out of us. Commitment, dedication, sincerity, humility. These are the things he's expecting from us. Let's keep going.
God. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 11 reads, "For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Yahushua. Now if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stone."
And listen, like I said, this chapter is a very damn scary chapter. And for people that really understand what the scriptures is talking about. He's like, the foundation that we're supposed to be building on is Christ. Now, based on what you're trying to bring to the table, he says there's 5 different levels of effort, 6, that the Most High can determine is your works. Gold, which is the top, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, and stubble.
They have some in common.
Listen, well, they do. Some of them do.
Yeah.
The point is this. He's showing you that there's 6 different levels of effort that men bring to the table and women bring to the table while serving the Most High. Okay? Now, with everybody's level of effort, the Most High does something to that work. Read verse 13.
Verse 13. Every man's work shall be made manifest.
Most High is very clear with this. All of our work's going to be manifested. But how is it going to be manifested by? Meaning, our effort, our dedication, our sincerity is going to be measured, and the Most High is going to see it, and he's going to put things in place to determine if that work is going to be accepted or not. Read on.
Every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare.
The day shall declare how much dedication you put into your work. Your day should declare how much effort you put into it. This is not about talent. Gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble has nothing to do with talent. This is about what you do with your talent, what you do with your ability, and how hard do you work to perfect and enhance your talent. But read on.
For the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire.
It says fire shall reveal what type of works you bring to the table. Now, if you look at those 6 elements of a person's work ethic, stubble is burned up by fire. Hay is burned up by fire. Wood is burned up by fire. And precious stones can be permanently damaged from fire. So ultimately, only 2 of those, that efforts really is acceptable by the Most High.
Silver and gold.
Silver and gold. I like to say gold.
Gold and silver.
Because the point is this. This is why a lot of times we put in work. We bring things to the table. And our intentions might be good. But I don't mean the Most High is going to accept it. Because you know what happens is we put effort in, we put sacrifice in. But if it's not sufficient to making the Most High happy or pleasing Him, it's going to burn up. It's not going to turn out the way you want it. He's telling you, listen, if you put stubble work in, that's not going to be accepted by the Heavenly Father. It's not a war's words or Daviad's words or some ranting and raving of some extremist. Your works, depending on how much effort you put into it, how much dedication you put into it, how much sincerity you put into it, how much attention to detail you put into it, will either be accepted by the Most High or not. But the fire is going to determine if your works survive or if your works are valued and appreciated. You understand? And this is still dealing with building on top of Christ's foundation. And if the work isn't sufficient to Christ's standard, it's not going to last. And it's not going to build on to what Christ is bringing to the table. Because what Christ is bringing to the table is gold. So if you're not sitting back here and bringing in something comparable to that, you can't build on top of gold with stubble. Can you? You can't put stubble on top of twigs on top of gold. Either you better put comparable gold or silver on top of that to make it actually even worth anything. But he's letting us know gold work is not about how much ability you have, but how much dedication did you put into what was presented in front of you. I don't want brothers to think you might have a disability or something that doesn't come naturally to you. That doesn't mean you're permanently cursed. What it means is how much work did you put into improving your situation? How humble were you in trying to seek help to get the answers that you need in where you're undeveloped at? And based off of your humility, perseverance, dedication,
and
effort,
and the ability to self-examine and then get multiple pairs of eyes that are competent to see those issues.
That determines gold work or silver work. A lot of times we'll have deficiencies and we're so focused on hiding
from deficiencies
that we'll sit back and provide inferior work and get angry that it's not accepted. But the purpose of putting the work in was to be humble enough for your issues to be exposed so you can fix them. So what I'm saying, all right, does it make sense? Okay, let's keep going.
God. Now, if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood.
No, this we gotta get to the point. Let's get to verse 14.
Verse 14. If any man's work abide, which he hath built thereupon, he shall receive a reward.
The reward is based upon if the work abides. Not that you try. There's a lot of work that you try to bring to the table and it doesn't work, it doesn't last. That means, guess what? It wasn't good enough. And you're not going to get a reward for work that's not good enough. And I don't think a lot of times we understand that. We're not getting blessed for just showing up. We're just not. Read on.
Oh, I got to pause right here. Because the word abide is a pretty good word.
Yeah.
This is abide.
Yes, it is.
Because it's tried, right? You
Yep.
try, and then does your work abide? Abide. To continue permanently or in the same state. To be firm, immovable. To remain, to continue. To endure, to sustain. To bear, to endure. So does my work, what I'm investing in, is it permanent, bro? Is it long lasting?
And that's the point. This is what the Most High is expecting of us. And it's not as easy as we think.
Yeah.
But nothing that's worth getting in life is easy.
True.
Anything that's worth having is not easy. So anyway, let's go. Let's continue. Give me verse 15.
If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss. But he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire.
So if your works are burned, you still have a chance to make it better. You have a chance to sit back here and make it better the next time. But you're saved based upon the work that you continue to bring forth in hopes the Most High accepts your effort. Yes, I.
So how do you know if your works are burned? Like, can you give like an example of how one would recognize that in your life?
Not finding the success you're looking for, the spiritual success you're looking for. We're not basing this off carnal. What it is about not getting the spiritual understanding that you're trying to get. There's a lot of people that come through these doors and they still don't have the understanding. They still don't understand what this is all about. They'll just go through the motions and their understanding continues to be stagnant. And you can tell a person is stagnant because they haven't learned to master themselves. They still fall by the same lust, the same weaknesses, the same vices. You're still dominated by
Same
those
ruts.
vices, those same ruts, those same mental blocks that keep you from growth. That's how you know your work's being burnt up, because you just feel like you're spinning your wheels and you're not taking any strides forward.
Not progressing.
You're not progressing. Yes, sir.
I just want to kind of add to that. I think mostly what contributes to that kind of situation where you just can't seem to figure it out is you got other stuff there that you won't do away with. You got other desires. You got other stuff in your heart.
Hell yeah.
That's the
You
point.
want to do this, but you want to put. You wanna
Israel
put a
wants
lot
their
of-
cake and eat it too.
You want to put a lot of efforts into something else when the Most High is requiring everything from you.
Because you don't have the time for the growth that we need and want.
Mm-hmm.
It requires abstinence. What are you willing to give up to get this?
Because Aki always said part-time Israelite.
Well, it's part-time Israelite, but it's
Yeah.
also about abstinence.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can be a full-time Israelite and still not get shit done.
Exactly.
You can be doing this shit 24/7 and still spin your whip. And that's the facts too.
Mm-hmm.
So when you choose to be a full-time Israelite, when you're doing it, are you spinning your wheels? I see a lot of us every day going through the motions of being an Israelite, saluting, fringing the hell out, and still just not figuring it out. Because to figure it out, once again, just like in the world, we like make this whole spiritual serving the Most High thing like it's mystical.
Mystical. Stop
In
mystical.
the world, if you want this, you got to give this up. Am I right or wrong? This isn't rocket science. To get closer to the Most High, what are you willing to give up in the flesh to get this spiritual ability? What else do you want to give up? And half the time, for us, it's those little mental vices, those little mental escapes. Take our mind to the flesh. What are you willing to give up in the flesh to give the Most High what He wants? Those little comforts. Yes, sir.
So you're saying that so it shouldn't be, in the spiritual sense, you shouldn't have the depression, anxiety, the worry, the frustration. That's your works being spiritual works being burned. If you have those same emotions.
Yes, those are indicators to let you know that there's a lot more to do. Now you can determine growth based off how frequent they are versus how frequent or how infrequent they come can determine if you're growing or not growing. But anxiety is still about a desire for control. It shows you a different level of doubt that you have in you. Why am I anxious? Why am I stressing out? What is it that's contributing to those issues? And everybody's situation is different. It would take a lot of one-on-one counsel to get to the core of it. But the reality is, those fleshly responses are indicators of spiritual deficiencies. And if you can look at it that way, then you realize, okay, if I have this anxiety, what do I got to give up?
Get together.
In the carnal, to give up that deficiency.
It will go away.
You have to give something up
Yep.
to eliminate these issues.
Exactly. That's good.
The problem is the power of prayer. Listen, you're supposed to pray, but you better pray and put some damn works behind it. You better got some damn spiritual solutions. Please, Lord.
Or you want to work, but you don't want to pray.
Yeah,
That's another one too. People
Thank you.
It's just.
Or exactly. Or you want to work, pray and not study. How about that? You're in
You
trouble.
ruined your life.
Always something missing.
Or you want to work, pray, and not get counsel.
Oh, you just cost yourself 5 years.
And you're losing years trying to figure it out. Yes, sir.
So is that one work, in one example of that work would be communicating the issue.
That's one of them.
It's
That's
having-
one of the many things you have to fix.
It's having the core components necessary.
That's the
To have your
foundation.
foundation set.
It's communication. Do you study? Do you read?
Engine
Do you
muffler.
sit back? Yeah.
I don't know cars. What? No cars? Engine muffler there somewhere.
Transmission.
Transmission.
It's the first two is engine and transmission.
engine, okay.
Braking systems.
There we go.
Every component is required.
Everything.
There we go.
Thank you.
To go somewhere.
But that's the point. We don't. We
Don't
think
see what the
we can just sit back here and be uber
We're
spiritual.
that paint is glistening. It's shining, but it ain't going nowhere.
It's candy paint.
Woo.
Concrete crumbling.
Man.
Glass shooting
I got
lasers.
butter in his seats. I got buttery seats, man. This car smelling good. We can't stop. We try to brake, we can't stop.
If that transmission is out,
You ain't doing nothing.
it's as dead as an old car.
Yep.
You might be
It
able
could be a brand new
you
car.
might be able to keep warm, but you ain't going nowhere.
Exactly. And this is, and I wished as a nation, Israel came into this figuring that out. But a lot of times Israel don't even understand about what it takes to build and create something, and the attention to detail that it takes to accomplish anything. Because a lot of our people come into this knowledge and haven't accomplished anything. They don't know what it takes to start and complete something. So we're talking this, it's going over most people's heads. Wow, this is deep. This is like essential. It's not. This isn't even deep. This is like
survival.
These are building blocks
Come.
so that you don't burn a decade of your life.
Right.
And I'm straight being honest. A lot of us waste time because we don't even understand what it takes to start and finish something,
Because
and what it takes to start and finish something with success.
I'm still
Okay,
angry,
because it's-
still worried,
it-
still
it-
upset.
Because our people are a nation of quitters.
True. That's
What
the
you gonna
facts.
say?
I want to say the problem is some have accomplished things and gotta give up things. Carnal accomplishments for the sake of the spirit. Some come in with no accomplishments and they gotta accomplish in the spirit. But the issue is, can you be pushed? That's why camp dynamics is so challenging. Because then when the Most High sees, okay, I see your state, I see where you're at, and I see what you need.
Yeah.
Now your assessment is pretty much clear. You have the same behavioral routine, the same emotional routine.
Now I want
Say,
more.
okay, now it's time to push you from step A
Yeah.
to step maybe C.
Listen, you know what the problem is?
Can I be
A
pushed
person
to-
who really understands Christ understands it's always more. And that, I don't think people understand that. It's always more. There's always something you can tweak in yourself. There's always things you can fix in yourself. It's never ending. Somebody had a hand up.
I
Not
wanted
good.
to ask Darius, what do you mean by, you said accomplish? What accomplish what?
I'm saying, a war made the statement that some of us haven't accomplished things pre-truth, right?
Yes, most of us didn't.
Right?
That's why we need
and,
this.
and we have, remember, Israel's destroyed for lack of knowledge. What knowledge we're dealing with? The knowledge of accomplishing and finishing things. We don't finish anything, bro. It's pretty obvious that we don't be finishing things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Otherwise we'd be further ahead.
Yeah.
Spiritually.
or come spiritual.
Yeah, spiritually.
Okay.
Because
So, this is strictly a spiritual conversation. It's talking about the development of your family structure, the development of your brotherhood, the development of your teachability, the development of your shepherdship, the development of your charity, the development of your endurance.
the thing is,
Your
as a
development
person,
of problem
this
solving.
conversation wouldn't be difficult if we even understood it in the physical, in the carnal. Because if a person understood how to finish something in the carnal, you can replicate that concept here. But most times, there's not even a starting point for people. Because most people in the world, things get hard, they get anxiety, they stress out, they quit. And you get a person that's in his early 20s that never started and finished anything. Now you're sitting back here, you're breaking 20 years of bad habits. You're breaking 20 years of bad habits, and in the process of breaking 20 years of bad habits, now this person is dealing with failure after failure after failure, then they're angry. But they better learn humility so they can start seeing the good in making these adjustments to motivate them to keep going further. Or you're going to leave this work, go back in the world, and keep repeating the same habits of failure and inconsistency. But this is something about, I guess, the framework of what it takes to build. A lot of times, a lot of our young people, they just never learn to take pride in what they do. Look at how we dress. How we're sitting back here wearing, I still don't understand why these young dudes, they sag even lower than what we used to sag back in the 90s. Like your pants are completely below your ass now. And what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And then you're defeating the purpose. You're wearing that and super skinny jeans. And what are you doing?
Yeah.
The pants are still tight. I get back in the day, people would do it because they didn't have the money and they had to drop it down because you had tight pants and you had to alleviate the tight pants issue. People are wearing tight ass, skinny leg cut pants and bringing the pants down. What are you doing?
You're walking them. It's on thigh meat.
Listen, it makes even less sense than the stupidity we had back in those days. That's the point. It's just our people don't have a clue about taking pride in anything. How we walk. You see, brothers, young people, they slide their feet. I want to punch cats so hard in the face. Can you stop sliding your goddamn feet everywhere you go? That's the worst thing in the world. And then move.
It's kicking in the knees.
Shoulders all slumped. Lazy with your feet, lazy with your shoulders, lazy with your words. Nah, that's cool. Well, can you say some? Can you put like 5 words together, brother?
Zombie, man.
That's. If we can't even put 5 words together. Imagine this, trying to teach people the Bible out and the intricacies and the depth about what's in the book.
Yeah.
It's like this, the words just going over people's heads. If there's not some images, if it ain't some like 30-second TikTok meme or 2.5-minute TikTok situation, you didn't lost a person's attention. Good luck to listening to an hour and a half documentary about something. And good luck reading a whole 200-page book without pictures. 200 pages. Black folks ain't reading no 200 pages of nothing. I ain't got time for that.
Get rid of TikTok.
Well, listen, get rid of all that social media. Then be like, I don't know what to do with my hands anymore. I don't know what to do. All I'm saying is that's how disconnected we are and how hard it is to teach this concept to people. Like, listen, I've been teaching brothers since 96, 97, and the ability of people to concentrate in study halls has diminished significantly. I remember we used to have study halls with brothers. The brothers could actually sit down and read books for like some time. And now it's like most people can't even sit back and lock their mind enough down to read. And then reading is one thing. Comprehension is even worse. It's a real difficult thing. We've actually debated. I don't care saying it online, but sometimes getting brothers to understand the King James is asking a lot. Sometimes we've never told brothers this, and I think brothers should fight through it or just dictionary the hell out of it. But it's almost like people reading like these other versions of the Bible is easier for them to understand. Now, I wouldn't sit back here and advise that, but getting brothers to understand Old English, good luck. A lot of people can't catch on to how it's written, and then if they can't catch on to how it's written, good luck understanding it. Now, I was taught just to read it and go for it, but it's almost like what do I got to do? What tools do I got to give brothers to read? First of all, getting us how to read, then reading comprehension, and then it was reading comprehension. I just had a thought and it left me. Reading comprehension, reading, and note taking.
Yeah.
Good luck with note taking on.
I think it's because the majority of young minds nowadays being so into them devices, and it does stuff to their brain upon physically breaking out a book and then working from there. I mean, they're totally lost.
I know. And we sit back and talking Bible verses, and it's like, yeah, I agree. And you don't agree to nothing, man. God, like, what are you talking about? Because now that's how young people can get taken advantage of. You got to go in this book and see it yourself. We're supposed to teach it. We're supposed to live it. We're supposed to be the example. But we're supposed to teach them who can teach others also. The goal is to give brothers the information, they understand it, so we can speak the same thing. We're not just trying to sit back and develop a bunch of mindless zombies that just agree. Just to agree. That's not what it's about.
Yes, man.
Huh?
Yes, man.
Yeah, that's not what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to sit back and teach people so they can understand it.
Oh, con, man, right.
Con.
Literally, con.
Like, what are you doing, bro?
Con.
Well, I'm gonna say this. Some teachers and some generals out there, they're cool with that.
Yeah.
They're cool with saying, this general did it again. For those of y'all who know, they know. Listen, he'd love it. That guy love it. Just a bunch of zombies that can sit back and regurgitate what he said.
He feels respected.
But
game over.
But the problem is long term after the generation changes, they won't be able.
Well, that's why nobody gets past 1,000 out in that damn camp. Nobody, I don't see anybody that gets past 1,000 in that place because nobody's getting developed. They just spit. I heard that they teach. They're given certain breakdowns to teach, and they just regurgitate the information. How do you learn that way? So when that head leaves and he passes on, and his number 2 passes on, who the hell's going to keep the mantle going? Who's gonna? It's not about you. It's about developing the man, so they can sit back here and keep this word going. They're trying to keep control over people. Give them what they need so they can take it to the next level and surpass you. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with teaching your student to the point where they can surpass your works? Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
That's probably success.
Versus stifling people because you have to let everybody know that you're the guy?
Yeah.
Or I had it back in the 80s? Who gives a shit? The 2020s is about to fall apart because there's not enough men who understand how it was back in the day to keep it going. So their responsibility is to teach and develop and make it much well-rounded so they can take this word and keep developing down the line. But a person that wants control don't think that way. Anyway, enough of that part.
The point is, but this to summarize it, there's different calibers of building.
Yep.
So there's different calibers of building. If you build zombies, if you build people that are just unprepared, dealing with not teaching children how to socially acquiesce
Yep.
and connect and deal with people in the outside world,
Yep.
and based on reality, not based on theory. People have to learn how to deal with real life, real work, dealing with Jake, how to deal with carnal people, how to deal with Edomites.
Yep.
You have to be prepared. Christ gave the best example. He sent his disciples 2 by 2 with nothing.
Yep.
And it said the workman is worthy of his hire.
Yep.
So he trained them and prepared them, and then he sent them out, and then he graded them when they came back. So the same thing applies to us. We have to develop our people so they can be self-sustaining. That's the goal.
Got it.
That we're self-sustaining. So this class, or this angle this class is going to, do you have the proper components to self-sustain?
Got it.
Spiritually. And if you can't maintain your integrity or have the ability to emotionally and mentally and psychologically self-sustain, it's because there's cracks and there's weaknesses and there's flaws in your foundation, your initial dedication to the Most High that you need to fix before further challenges, further pressures, further storms, and further efforts knock down your spirit.
Because the Most High is bringing the fire.
God.
Listen, the fire is coming. He said your works will be judged by fire. So the fire is coming. The test is coming. The grades are, the Most High is going to grade the work. That's what we don't understand. He's grading and determining if our work is sufficient enough to get honored.
Yeah.
And I'm drilling this point because it's culturally, I don't think we as a nation accept that enough. It has been accepted that just, follow the law, follow the Torah, and that's it. And that's you're good. Most High wants more than that. And I just don't think Israel as a nation has embraced that point. That is the Most High. Christ is about doing more than that. He's been teaching that from the beginning. That is what the message of the New Testament was about. Your church people in the world want to say Christ came to do away with the law. That's not what Christ did. Christ came to enforce the law and to teach you the perfection of the law. That's what Christ taught. He taught how to take the law and surpass the law. But in surpassing the law doesn't mean you do away with the law. Just like Paul said, the law was your what? Your schoolmaster. What does that mean? People sit back and say, oh, the law was your schoolmaster, so you can forget about it now. Do you forget your ABCs? Do you forget your multiplication table? Do you forget how to divide? These are essentials. You forget what colors are and all the shades of colors? These things are essential in the framework of your mind. Just like the law is essential in the framework of your mind, but there comes a point where you got to stop talking about colors. There comes a point where you got to stop giving multiplication tables all damn day long. There comes a point where you figured out long division. Can we sit back and do more now? Can we sit back and evolve from just the law? So we can learn how to love your brother, commit yourself to the sick. There's more things to battle and deal with than just the schoolmaster work. So that's what Paul was saying. Take the law, get the understanding, and let's move forward and do more. It's not about doing away with it. It's about adding on to it. And that was what infuriated the lawyers, the Pharisees the most. What Christ was saying is that your works weren't good enough. You weren't giving enough. Yeah, you mastered this level. There's more levels to it than this. That's what the Pharisees hated. They were losing their power, losing their respect, because somebody gave it a higher level than they did. It wasn't no deeper than that. That was what Matthew all the way down is about. There's more to it than just the law. Because you can sit back here, follow the law, and be negative at the same time. You can follow the law and be selfish at the same time. You can follow the law and not have love for your people at the same time. That's what he's showing. So this is why, going back to the point, us building our temple and presenting it to the Most High, we better make sure in that process we're communicating, we're humble, we're willing to be moldable and adaptable. So if the Most High honors it, cool. Then I got to give more the next time. If he blows on it and the fire burns it up, let me go back and make it better. Can I accept that? Can I accept that process? Read on in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, give me verse 16.
Come. Know ye not that ye are the temple of the Most High?
We are the temple of the Most High. And he's rating us on how well we prepare that temple. Read on.
And that the Spirit of the Most High dwelleth in you?
Come on, read on.
If any man defile the temple of the Most High.
Now we talk about defiling the temple in regards to smoking cigarettes and weed and drugs like that. But you can defile we defile our temple with how much sin that we keep inside of it. You sit back here and read into a malicious spirit, wisdom and interest, wisdom of Solomon chapter 1. I'm not going to go there, but it just tells you about how in your spirit, if that discipline doesn't flee deceit, if you don't sit back here and eliminate all that negative inside of you, then you know what? You're judged partially on how much sin you allow to keep festering in your spirit. That your temple, if you defile your temple, you defile your temple by how many blemishes are in your temple. That was why, in connecting the symbolism to the temple of Solomon, there was no blemish in the temple. It was no faults. It was pure. It was perfect. That was why the Most High sent that fire down from heaven to burn up that altar. We have a lot of blemishes in our temple. And instead of sitting back here and making excuses for why there's blemishes, those blemishes let us know that we have an opportunity to put some work in. And can we take this opportunity the right way and keep working on those blemishes while we have the time? Read on.
Come. If any man defile the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy. For the temple of the Most High is holy, which temple ye are.
Think about your spirit as the inward parts of the temple. That inward parts of the temple, the design was perfect. The design was flawless. There was no fault in the temple, in the construction, in the architecture, in the level of skill in the work. Go back into it. Was like 3 weeks ago we went into the class about the skill level to make the wood, to carve the wood and to carve the images in the wood, and then to sit back and carve and mold the gold pieces to make it happen. The skill work it took to make the cherubims inside the temple. You made the wood, you made it perfect, and you perfectly overlaid it with gold. All the attention to detail on that physical temple is what the Most High wants to sit back here for our personal spiritual temple. How much do you work to purify that negative out of you? It even tells you about when, okay, somebody give me the scripture about the unclean spirit that's in a man.
Yep.
And also another verse that talks about unclean spirit, and then have to like tie down the strong man.
Oh,
Matthew 12.
Matthew 12:43. Or Luke 11:24. The unclean spirits gone out of a man. Walk through dry places.
Okay.
However you want to do it. Matthew and Luke says the same thing, but there's different instructions.
Let's do Matthew first. Read 25, 12 and 25.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 25.
Let me get it real quick. Through what? Where are we going to? Let's just read. We're going to run through it. I don't know. Maybe 30. I don't know.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
Listen, that we always talk about this verse in regards to Esau's kingdom, and how we know in Daniel's where it said Esau's kingdom was the last empire on earth, and how it was going to be iron mixed with miry clay, and how having a kingdom of iron and miry clay was going to weaken the structure of the kingdom. And we understand in Esau's kingdom you have this strong, hard left, this totalitarian left, this liberal agenda that's destroying the fabric of the country, what made the country as potent as it was. We understand that dynamic. But even you can take it on a geopolitical, nationalistic scope, or you can look at it in our spirit. Your dominion, in your spirit, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. If there's part of you that wants to serve the Most High and change, and there's a strong part of you that doesn't want to change, that you're gonna fall. You can't have two masters. Because the most Christ talks about that too. Not having two masters, not having two intentions and motivations in the process of serving the Most High. These are the facts. Okay, but continue.
In the middle of verse 25, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
So what Christ is telling us on a personal level is, you're not going to stand unless you're convinced one way or the other. Let's sit back even on a worldly level. If you're going to be about selling drugs in the community, if you're going to be in a gangbang, you better be the baddest mother you know what out in them streets. You can't sit back here and be a gangster and have a heart. You can get ate up out there. Am I right or wrong? You can't sit back. You either got to not give a crap about nothing and take, or get out the game. They tell you that all the time, don't they? If you ain't got the heart, get out, man. Get out this game, man. If you ain't trying to sit back here and put bodies on your back, and all that stuff out, you ain't trying to do that. If you ain't trying to do whatever it takes, don't do it. You can't sit back here. You seeing thug shit and you getting all squeamish. Listen, bro. You got to get out, bro. And on the spiritual level, the Most High is about righteousness and commitment. On that end, on the right side. You want to sit back here, you still want to do left, you want to go out in the world and figure it out? Go out in the world, figure it out. And when you're done getting beat up, come on through. When you're done living that negative life, come on through, everything's going to be okay. Y'all get what I'm saying? This is how the Most High teaches us. Listen, the Most High tells you either wants you hot or cold. All that lukewarm stuff is for the birds, right? Either you're wicked or you're righteous. Esau understands that.
Yeah.
He's not going to take and go to war and steal and go to war and lie and steal and make money. It's about making money out. Esau is about cream out.
He's a real king.
The old Wu-Tang statement. That's what he wants. And he's unapologetic about it. We need to be unapologetic about committing to the Most High. And then we can sit back and reach our maximum potential in serving Him. You just put it right there. It's cool. But, so let's keep going to Matthew.
Now in Matthew chapter 12, verse 26. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand?
It's not.
Right.
So once again, either you're going to be with a committed life to serving Christ or not. Don't play the middle. Read on.
Verse 27. And if I, by Beelzebub, cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out?
So the Pharisees were saying that Christ was casting out devils in the name of Satan. Didn't make any damn sense, but they had to discredit Christ as much as they possibly could. Read on.
Therefore, they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of the Most High, then the kingdom of the Most High has come unto you.
Read on.
Verse 29. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house?
This right here, Christ is painting out the template of what it takes to purify your temple, to purify your house. Because if we look at serving the Most High and providing gold or silver works in correlation to how many strong men in yourself that you bind and tie down, now you'll have a better understanding of what it takes to please Christ. How dedicated are you to binding those strong influences that's hard for you to shake? The amount of effort, the amount of work, the amount of attention to detail it takes to defeating that opponent is how you produce gold work. It's how you produce silver work. How much time and how methodic have you gone into analyzing that strong man in yourself? That strong man's desires, strong man's weaknesses, his vulnerabilities. What do you do to break that negative in you? Slothfulness, pride, lust, fear.
And can I replicate a better caliber consciousness every day?
But that caliber confidence is still based upon, I'm going to cut you off. It's still based upon how serious are you about changing? We all talk about changing. I want the Lord on my side. I really need the Lord on my side. Then what are you prepared to do to bind the strong man that's keeping you from the Lord? Is that strong man and you don't want the Lord? That's the problem. The problem is that big
destroy the whole house.
It's that big Debo ass nigga that's in your spirit. And like, no, we ain't reading today. We ain't reading. We going to the club today, bro. We ain't reading. I don't feel like studying. All right, we ain't gonna study today. It's a damn strong. We ain't locking. We ain't listening to orders. We ain't following orders and asking counsel. We ain't doing that.
That's damn
All
flesh.
right, we ain't gonna do it today. Listen, why can't we look at it that way? Because that's what the issue is.
Yeah.
I ain't letting them brothers see my vulnerability. No. I ain't gonna counsel today. I'm gonna counsel next week. I'll go back next week. I guess we. There's a strong man in your spirit that's flexing on you, and when he growls, you cave. How about that? And that's that imperfection in your temple. That's the imperfection. And are you gonna go to war with him? Are you gonna? And that's why I say abstinence. You got to starve that cat out. The only way to bind him is to starve him. It's to deny him. That is what the Most High is trying to see, to show that I'm trying to produce gold works, silver works. Listen, it could be, I want to control my man. I'm not down with that 2-wife thing. I want to control him. That's your strong man. Then you got to go with that spirit that wants control. You got to go with that spirit that wants it your way. So you can learn to be a better servant. Then that's your stronghold as a sister. There's a part of me that don't want to give up control, that doesn't want to serve. So if it's about Christ, then what are you going to do to break that part of you that wants control and doesn't want to serve? Are you wanting to bind the strong man? We can sit back and read Bible verses and sing songs and seek counsel. You get counsel, you read scriptures, you study, you self-examine to get the motivation and courage to do what? Deny that strong man. Kill that old man. That's what you do it for. A lot of times, we go to class, we get scriptures, we get counsel to self-soothe. Self-soothing is what? It's temporary. You're supposed to sit back here, study, read, get class, get counsel to create to muster motivation to break what's in you, to actually put the work in to change.
Is that all building the house?
That's all building the house. That was why I said the foundation of the house has got to be those things we mentioned. Studying, counsel, communication, going to class, being humble, being pliable, discipline. All those things are the components you need to continue to bind that strong man in you, the strong men in you, the strong women in you. All it is strong men, strong women, are strong influences that compete for
Christ's authority.
Christ's attention. Because either you're going to feed Christ and give him the attention, or you're going to feed that flesh and give your flesh the attention.
True.
Most High in Christ, Most High is a jealous power. So he's like, listen, this guy's still on here. Cool, no problem, man. It's awesome, man. Anyway, what am I trying to say? What's your hand up?
The bind also means the sacrifice, right?
Yes.
The sacrifice.
Yes. Bind the sacrifice with what?
Right.
Bind the sacrifice with cords. What's that sacrifice? It's that stronghold. That sacrifice is also supposed to be what? Unblemished.
Right.
Bind that unblemished sacrifice with cords. Am I going to sit back and bind that negative in me? Yes, sir.
Can we read Leviticus 1?
I know in Leviticus 1 it talks about the unblemished animal and the whole process of the sacrifice, right?
Well, it says voluntary will and washing the inward parts of it.
Yes, it does what.
I know.
What the reason I'm saying, because it's I get it. We understand it's voluntary. Well, not all of us do, but I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to make sure we go and we're attacking the process and breaking the inwards in a person and breaking the inside of a person, because that's what the cleansing of the temple is.
That's the lack of understanding.
Because we read about that earlier in the Josephus about the killing the unblemished animal. One is let's stay on here. Let's keep going.
real quick, not to throw it off. I wanted to see it again. You want me to pass it back or keep reading?
Go back from the top from the strongman verse. Yeah, it's 12 o'clock, y'all.
We got it. Strong, okay, verse 29. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house?
God, and this is the situation. Either that strong man is going to spoil your house, or you're going to take him down. What is it going to be? That battle and that interaction.
What's going to dominate you?
Well, listen.
That's the question.
And this is the thing.
What am I dominated by?
That goes beyond just the law. These issues that are inside of me, that is weakening me, weakening my spirit. Am I going to go to war with those things? And am I going to sit back here and take all my resources, my abilities, my humility, the lessons, the counsel to break that? This is why we go to class. This is why we get scriptures. Because for every thought, negative thought that strong man provides, you got to have verses on verses on verses on verses on verses to counteract those thoughts. It's that simple. Read on.
Verse 30. He that is not with me is against me.
That means if you're not with Christ's influence, if you're not dominated in the spirit of submission to the mind of Christ in the book and the disciplines and the law, then I end up becoming an adversary to Christ.
Yeah. So either I'm gonna sit back here and commit to breaking that stronghold, or the strong man inside of me, or I'm sitting back here, I'm an adversary to Christ. The battle lines are set.
Because he's not looking at gray areas, bro.
He's not.
He's not with the gray, bro.
And that's why this is not some Christian angle. We're Israelites, buddy. But let's keep going.
Middle of verse 30. And he that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad.
He that gathereth not with me, if I'm not doing the work to be beneficial to the agenda and work of Christ towards his vision, then guess what? I'm attacking and I'm degrading and I'm breaking and I'm really dissolving his mission. I'm an opposite force. I'm a contrary.
Yeah.
My contrary nature to his agenda makes me a what? Makes me an enemy. He looks at that as being an enemy.
No. So let's keep going.
Verse 31. Matthew chapter 12, verse 31.
Is that it? I think that's it. That's it. We're going to let that verse go. Let's go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 3.
We got it.
Verse 17.
Okay. He's got to go up.
Shalom.
1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 17. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
If the whole, 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 17, if the whole body were an eye.
No, 1 Corinthians 3 and 17.
3. I don't have my notes on.
Well, still matters.
1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17. If any man defile the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy.
It still goes back to you defile your temple by giving in to that strong man. And that was the whole point I was trying to bring out.
Keep entertaining weakness.
Yep.
That's contrary.
And the more we entertain that weakness, the more our temple is defiled. Read on. And the Most High will destroy a man with that defiled temple, with that spirit of temple that has all of these issues that have gone unchecked, unchallenged, unfought.
Which deals with the spirit of compromise.
Let's keep going.
Verse 17. If any man defile the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy. For the temple of the Most High is holy, which temple ye are. Verse 18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise.
So what he's saying is, whatever you've learned and accomplished in the world, you better make sure you take whatever lessons you got from there. Keep whatever you learn, but make sure you stay humble enough to keep growing in the spiritual place. Okay? You better learn to take You better learn to be humble enough to listen and learn and change
And
and
be
adapt.
receptive to guidance.
So you can
If
keep
If
growing.
you stop being receptive to guidance,
You're gonna
your
plateau.
battle will outgrow you.
Done. So listen, I think we got all that.
I've got that.
Let's get back to our point. So let's get back now to Josephus, book 8, chapter. Book 8, chapter 4. It's paragraph 4, but it's talking about where it fell down onto the ground and worship. We're going to read from there. It said, the last line was, now when this divine appearance was seen, the people supposed it to be a demonstration of the Most High's abode in the temple.
Line 119.
So let's go to the one after that. So 120. Upon, I guess, which the king began to bless the Most High.
Middle of line 119.
Okay, let's read that if you got it. I'm out.
Got book 8, chapter
4.
Verse 4, line 119.
Yep.
Now when this divine appearance was seen, the people supposed it to be a demonstration of the Most High's abode in the temple, and were pleased with it, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. Upon which the king began to bless the Most High, and exhorted the multitude to do the same, as now having sufficient indications of the Most High's favorable disposition to them.
So this was confirmation to Solomon that what was being done was what the Most High was pleased with. Read on.
God. So sorry.
And to pray.
And to pray. And that they, okay. And verse, line 120, I'm sorry. And to pray that they might always have the like indications from him, and that he would preserve in them a mind pure from all wickedness in righteousness.
Because they understood that to keep getting those indications or confirmations, you had to have a mind pure from wickedness. This still goes back to what we was reading in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. The challenge that we all face is, how hard do you have to work to keep getting these spiritual confirmations that you're on point? Because this is about still trying to gauge, how do I please the Heavenly Father? How hard do I have to work? What do I have to commit to get these confirmations that we're on the right path? Okay? So this is what even Solomon will say, hey, what do we got to do to keep these confirmations going? To keep these quote-unquote fire from heaven scenarios happening, to remind us that we're on point. That's the challenge we all face. Read on.
God. Middle of line 120. And religious worship, and that they might continue in the observation of those precepts which the Most High had given them by Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Because by that means the Hebrew nation would be happy.
Done.
And indeed the most blessed of all nations among all mankind.
He gave us the template to be the most blessed nations of all mankind. So even when we get to the kingdom's coming, bro. The end of the world for Esau's fallen. Ours is coming. But he's been trying to show us what he expected from us to earn that right to lead the people again.
It's not just about Esau falling, it's about our development.
So it even makes sure, it makes sense now why the Most High, when he's talking about that 144,000 and how they had to stand so stiffly for the Most High in Christ. Because in order to be that 144, you had to sit back here and show that your commitment was above and beyond everybody else's. Because that 144,000 is going to be the ruling class of Israel that puts the rest of the world in order. That makes sense? Somebody has to reestablish and teach all the other nations about the Most High and the details of how to rebuild this entire world in the image of the Heavenly Father. Okay? So he's like, listen, the ones who are the most adept at purifying what's inside of you, they're going to be the ones that are going to be leading the nation. Let's keep going.
We're in line 121. Beginning of line 121. He exhorted them also to be mindful by what methods they had attained their present good things. By the same, they must preserve them sure to themselves and make them greater.
Listen, he's saying the same things we were saying. If you want to keep the Most High on your side, you better strive for greater. If you want these blessings to keep going, you better push past where you're at now. Even treading water wasn't going to be sufficient. Are you going to push for more? Push for greater? To ensure that the Most High is still there with you. That's the only way we can ensure that what we're doing is right. Can I keep surpassing what I did last month, last year, 2 years ago? That's how I can ensure the Most High is on my side. Read on.
Middle of 121. And more than they were at present. For that it was not sufficient for them to suppose that they had received them on account of their piety and righteousness, but that they had no other way of preserving them for the time to come.
That's the Lithuanian.
That's crazy. That's funny.
That's crazy. Yeah, keep going, bro.
God, for that it is not so great a thing for men to acquire somewhat which they want, as to preserve what they have acquired, and to be guilty of no sin, whereby it may be hurt.
Wow, read that part again, man.
God,
Oh man, we missed the point. Little
There's
distraction going on.
little shaitan. That's a little shatan's coming in. Go a little further
A little
for
bit of
that.
pepper with that salt.
Yeah, bro. There's a lot of pepper with that sauce. I'm hating out here.
We'll go back up to
Go back for that. It was not sufficient.
Not sufficient. God. Back to the middle of verse line 121.
Just say he exhorted them to also be mindful. Put that from there.
Go back up a little bit more.
He exhorted them also to be mindful.
God, beginning of line 121. God. He exhorted them also to be mindful that by what methods they had attained their present good things, by the same they must preserve them sure to themselves and make them greater.
I say this all the time. Not forgetting what it took to get blessed. Not forgetting how much dedication it took for the Most High to sit back and honor you. And once you learn that method, keep working on doing it greater. Yeah. Read on.
And more than they were at present.
God. And to keep this, Solomon was trying to get them to build on this momentum so the next generation can be even stronger. And the generation after that can be stronger. And we can sustain this kingdom in perpetuity. That was Solomon's intention from the beginning. Yeah. Read on.
God. For that it was not sufficient for them to suppose that they had received them on account of their piety and righteousness, but that they had no other way of preserving them for the time to come. Mm-hmm. For that it is not so great a thing for men to acquire somewhat which they want, as to preserve what they have acquired, and to be
So guilty. What he's saying is this: it's one thing to get a blessing, it's another thing to preserve the blessing.
Yeah.
He says it's harder to preserve and maintain what you got than to get it. Wow. And we've seen that over many generations. It's one thing to get a building, one thing to get a school, one thing to start a camp, one thing to get blessed at a camp. It's another thing to sustain it. Can you stay hungry? Can you stay focused? Can you stay on point? Can you keep pushing yourself? Because most of our people like to reach a certain point and plateau. And when you start to plateau, you start to fizz out. It's the same thing with water. When water is moving, it's fresh, it's alive, it's healthy. When water stops moving, it what? It stagnates. And then disease and bacteria starts to grow on that water. It's the same thing with our spirit. It's a petri dish, exactly. But if we're not in the spirit of constantly challenging and pushing ourselves, that's what happens to us. And this is what he's explaining that's happening with Solomon, which ended up being his downfall. Because once he worked hard to push himself to this level, he plateaued. And as he plateaued, he started diminishing and giving himself to other things, other distractions. And ended up breaking him. That weakened him. And what it shows to us is we're nothing without our next what? Goal. We're nothing without the next goal in front of us. And that's a mantra that we have to hold on to if you want to sustain your spirit. If you want to stay potent, there better be another spiritual goal you got in front of you. another spiritual endeavor that you're planning to set up. If not, I'm telling you, man, you're going to fade out.
Never go far enough.
You can never go far enough, but there's got to be something inside of you to keep challenging yourself to go forward. So, this is what's happening. It's one thing to acquire something. It's another thing to preserve what they acquired. And as you read in Kings and Chronicles, we saw by that temple started diminishing the next generation. To the point that some of the kings were closing the doors to the temple. And they weren't, the funny thing is, they weren't serving the Most High. And you know what the Most High started doing? They started bringing kingdoms on top of them, breaking them.
They didn't like that.
And so you know what kings will start doing? We're going to have to start chipping some of this gold off the interior of the temple out.
That's sad.
And giving it to the Syrians to pay off these debts. Wow. That's how the Most High start breaking us apart. All that gold started getting pulled off to pay off debts from kingdoms that kept attacking us because we didn't value the temple in the first place. That's another way of how it started to diminish. The next generation. The funny thing is, Rehoboam was acting a damn fool. King of Egypt came through there, wiped him out, we're going to go into if we got the time about King Solomon's house. They raided all the stuff in the house. And everything that was accounted for in gold, the kingdom went from gold to copper overnight. I'm serious. You remember, we were talking about Solomon's kingdom. Nothing was accounted for but gold and silver. But then, like 15 years later, his son screwed the pooch. And now it's a copper kingdom. They have copper shields and copper everything. And this is why you talked about, and you also about the vanity of vanity, and how Solomon started saying, listen, this is all vanity, bro. I busted my ass, and my son don't got it. He's going to screw the kingdom up. I already know it. I already got one son. How about that? One son in line, and he don't got it. He's blowing money fast, irresponsible. He says, then what did I do all this for? Next generation is going to fall apart. I don't know. Let's keep going. So give me paragraph 5.
God, paragraph 5, starting line 122. So when the king had spoken thus to the multitude, he dissolved the congregation.
So once again, he prayed to the Most High while that smoke was that smoke or that cloud was in the temple. He was praying to the Most High, and he was also teaching and talking to the people. So now after that, the fire came down, consumed the sacrifice. Everybody saw it, prayed some more, and he started letting the people go. Read on.
But not till he had completed his oblations, both for himself and for the Hebrews, insomuch that he had sacrificed 22,000 oxen. Sheesh. And 120,000 sheep. Wow. 123. For then it was at the temple did first of all taste of the victims, and all the Hebrews with their wives and children feasted therein.
So the Levites that were at the temple got the first dibs of the meats and the food. Yep. And then the rest of the excess ended up going to all the countless people that were on the outskirts of the court of the temple. Okay? Read on.
Nay, besides this, the king then observed splendidly and magnificently the feast which is called the Feast of Tabernacles before the temple for twice 7 days, and he then feasted together with all the people.
And like we talked about, this whole process, he waited an entire year to get the ark into the temple at the Day of Atonement. This is the whole process of the Day of Atonement. They got the ark in, then they sat back here, and the temple was, I don't want to say christened, but once the ark got in, they closed the doors. They sat back and made the sacrifice, then closed the doors. The Most High sat back here, brought the cloud down, the prayers came up, sacrifices were made. Then by the time we finish that whole process, we get to the Feast of Tabernacles, which is a few days later, and then the sacrifices commence. Okay? But keep going.
God, we're now.
Okay, no. We'll go to the Bible now.
That's it. Okay.
Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 55 through 68. issue.
Gotcha.
That's it. Just go through the prayer.
All right.
1 Kings chapter 8, verse 55.
Mhm.
Starting in verse 55. And he stood and blessed all the congregation of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be the Lord, that hath given rest unto his people Israel.
This is a celebration point. This is a point of victory or an accomplishment point for us as a nation. Because we had to have those accomplishments. So this Bible is a book of our history, and this is the history of us accomplishing something. And we're at that peak right now. We're at a peak as a nation. Read.
According to all that he promised, there hath not failed one word of all his good promise.
Showing that reassurance that this is the product you get when you obey the laws, statutes, commandments, and the premise of the Heavenly Father. When you give yourself to the Most High's words and you exercise all the slothfulness and fear and doubt out of your spirit, and you commit to one project with laser focus, and then you get that happening as a group, then guess what? The Most High will not fail in His promises. Read.
Which he promised by the hand of Moses his servant.
Read on.
Verse 57. The Lord our power be with us, as he was with our fathers.
And that's the goal. The Most High has a history of being with Israel. When He split the Red Sea, when He sat here and He made the Egyptians suffer, the Most High has a history of protecting His people when His people are solely focused on Him. So we want that same protection, and we want that same love and directing and guidance and presence. We want that now. If we want that now, we have to go back to those old times and not forget the old times, not forget the methods, the established methods that worked. No different than the family structure. The current generation is forgetting the structures of friendship, structures of loyalty, structures of marriage. Those skill sets are becoming a lost art in the modern time for Generation Z and Y. So guess what?
Elemental P. I don't know those breakdowns.
Yeah, Generation X, you have
bro.
Z, and you have Y, and you have Z.
Got it.
So Generation Z, which is the current generation, this Twitch generation, bro. Right? They're not really getting these they have no connection to the computer world, bro. They don't have that connection. They don't have that connection past that the modern media and the older media had different values that were allowed to be present. So there's a gulf for them. They don't have anything to pull back on. They don't even really tap into scriptures like that. They're very informed when it comes to current events, because the technology is great for current events, but the actual foundations of maintaining bonds, social connections, relationships.
Those technology always has a backlash.
It's technology, and then it's planned also. It's not just that; it's the structure of society and laws. These laws, societal structures, have weakened the generation. So guess what? They don't have anything to pull back from. So those other skills that we grew up with are becoming lost arts and resulting in more levels or higher degrees of insanity and mental distortion. So guess what? The same way we now are weaker, we are that same level of weakness in comparison to previous generations that when they were getting weak, they were getting beat, they were getting whipped, they were getting tapped with dogs, they're working for free. There was a togetherness and a communal connection that we have to survive together. We have now currently a concept of I can be independent and isolated from my nation and still suffice in Babylon. I don't need my people. That's a undercarrying background issue we have with our nation. We think we don't need our people. Unless it's cops and police and people shooting us down the streets. Then all of a sudden, now there's an idea, there's a remembrance of why you have to love your people. But we're lacking from just a couple generations before that. How much more Moses' generation? When they left Egypt. How much more that generation? And we're already losing it. That's why it's so important that we stay ingrained in our book and ingrained in the disciplines so we don't lose those main themes that keep us potent as a nation so we can accomplish something in a unified form. Read that point again.
God, verse 57. I believe is what it was, right?
Uh-huh.
The Lord, our power with us.
That he be with us.
Be with us.
Uh-huh.
As he was with our fathers.
As he was with our fathers, because we maintain the same disciplines, or they say, read the books your fathers read. So they say, that's a term. Read.
Let him not leave us.
Let him not leave us. Why? Because we're maintaining that connection. We're doing our due diligence. If we do our part, he's guaranteed to do his part.
It's just a reminder. The Most High continues to remind us. If we hold up our end of the bargain, he'll cover his end of the bargain. But his love and his protection is conditional based upon our obedience.
Yeah.
And he just keeps reminding and sticking it down our heads the same point. Like we read in the Josephus, getting something is one thing, keeping it is the hard thing. And this is what Israel has had problems. This is what we in our own lives have problems with. Getting a blessing is one thing, maintaining it and augmenting it is the greater challenge. And I think that's how the Most High is trying to teach us how to keep and sustain things for the long run. Because in the long run is when we're going to have waves of disobedience, waves of disrespect, waves of selfishness over the long run. That's how you can, for sisters, when you guys are learning to court a husband, that's how you can tell if you have a good man. First of all, can you wait long enough to see his patterns? If you wait long enough, you can sit back and see if a man is consistent enough for you to sit back and invest your time into. If you can wait, you'll see his dedication. That's my advice for sisters or young daughters. Tell my daughter, can you wait out to see if this man is worth it? Worth committing your life to? Are you patient enough? 3 months ain't enough. Because y'all gonna be smiling on the phone, hey babe, what's up? What you doing? At 3 months is bull, bro. You better wait a year. Can you wait a year to really see if a person is worth investing your life into? Don't come crying about how bad he is if you want to wait 2 months. If he was a hookup, you stuck now. I'm gonna tell you. You know how many times we get counseled about trying to get it out to a marriage?
Yeah.
You're not gonna get me to say, "Oh, go ahead and leave him." I can't tell you that. You know, people are listening. They're listening astutely. What you say? Did you say?
He told me
Did you say?
Away. You gone.
And he was off? No, I did not. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you do it. Don't you put that evil on me. I'm going to say be patient. Something you weren't when you first met him. How about that one?
Wow.
You still want to be patient. If you weren't going to be patient when you first met him, you're going to be patient now.
Yeah. Bing bong.
It's the truth. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Listen, most High's gonna get you, right? Either you gonna wait before, or you gonna wait for. Listen, I'd rather wait a year to determine if this is the right guy than wait 15 years. But this guy to sit back and fix his anger issue. How about that one?
I realized.
I realized after putting hands on you for 15 years that I was doing wrong. Okay. I ain't supposed to use my hands in this capacity. I'm like, no, you're not, brother. You are not supposed to use your hands in that capacity. And it took you 10 years to
That time that I hurt my pinky, I think the Most High was talking to me.
30 black guys later.
Listen, this is funny, but this is not funny.
Yeah.
This is the truth.
Wow.
Because this is the reality. Because as a wife, you got to wait for your husband to figure it out. Listen, and you know what the truth is? You're going to have to wait for your husband to figure something out. But you know, it's no different than when you're dealing with a wife. I got to be able to pick a wife that I'm willing, whatever deficiency she has, is it manageable enough for me to deal with it? While she's waiting that 10 years to figure it out. Nobody escapes it. The husband has to wait till she figures it out. The wife has to wait till he figures it out. You just got to figure, over time, that year is supposed to be used to determine, is that sickness something I can deal with? Is that deficiency something I can deal with? And if it is, cool. If it ain't, get out. You can't sit back here and get out later. Oh, I didn't know. Well, shit, you didn't wait either. You didn't wait.
He didn't wait till now.
Everybody is an expert now. You can hide your shit for like 2 months. You can hide the bullshit in you for like 2 or 3 months. You can hide. We don't really see each other. It's just phone calls. The phone, I can be whoever you want me to be on the phone. Well, I'll be this person. I'll be this person. I'll be the righteous, spiritual, holy guy that's giving you counsel. But you can't hide that ugly when you see a person every day. Anyway, I don't know why we talk all the time.
It's one of those days, Barbara. It's one of those days.
You got to be patient with me. Like, damn, how long is this got to be? I'm learning. I'm learning. Give me time. I'm learning. Well, you want to give him time. Anyway. Let's keep going, man.
God,
I don't know why I keep like having an angry voice. I'm learning. I don't want to be so angry.
I don't want to change. I don't want to change that fast. That's what you're saying.
Anyway, let's go back into Kings, man.
First Kings 8, I'll read 57.
Kind of went in a rant. Let's go 58, bro.
God, verse 58. That he may incline our hearts unto 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 58. For those of y'all just walked in. Verse 58. That he may incline our hearts unto him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments, which he commanded our fathers.
This is a perfect time for Solomon to remind the people why they have to follow the Most High. Because when you're developing a person, you're dealing with a person, it's just as important to remind a person when they're doing well, to not forget what they're doing right to get blessed, as it is important to tell somebody when they're doing wrong why they have to change what they're doing wrong.
Both important.
And this was an important part where Israel could see the benefit of hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. Solomon, listen, man, this is what it takes to get the Most High's attention. Dedicate your life from here on out, replicating the spirit that you're in now, the mindset you're in now. He says that generation had a perfect opportunity to see what was acceptable in the eyes of the Heavenly Father. He's like, when you see this template up, so you can keep the blessings. And keep going.
Which he, end of verse 58, which he commanded our fathers.
Read on.
I read that. Verse 59, and let these my words, wherewith I have made supplication before the Lord, be nigh unto the Lord our power day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel at all times, as the manner shall require.
He's like, keep these supplications to the Lord day and night, so the Most High can still sit back and give us the attention we so require. Read on.
And verse 60, that all the people of the earth may know that the Lord is the Most High, and that there is none else.
This is the burden of leadership. This is the burden of being an Israelite. If we talk about in Matthew about letting that light so shine before men, you know what the most important thing that we have to do to make our teaching stick? A person has to see what's the value of being an Israelite. What's the value of living this life? What's the value of sitting back here and committing to the Most High? If they see your life all up and down in a roller coaster world, why do they want to mess with you? Why do they want to mess with this Israelite thing if you're a bag of nerves and a bag of a ball and confusion? Solomon was some of the people, listen, man, based off how consistent we can be as a nation, we can show the rest of the world that the Most High is a superior power. This is what the Most High's intention is going to be at the end. We're going to show the Most High, we're going to show the whole world that the Most High's way is the only way. But you can only show that by being that city on a hill. And this is what he's explaining. He's trying to exhort the people to take this lesson and this experience and catapult the nation towards national dominance. Read on.
God, verse 61.
National spiritual dominance. Read on.
Verse 61, 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 61. Let your heart therefore be perfect with the Lord our power, to walk in his statutes, and to keep his commandments.
He's trying to find different ways to get Israel to commit to perfection. What is it going to take to get Israel to realize it's not about them? It's not about you. It's not about what we want. What it's about is about the nation. The nation needs to see us all maxed out and strong, to motivate them to want to be strong. That should be a reason to not sin. If the desire to not sin isn't enough for you, fight to not sin so that other people can sit back here and appreciate you. That makes sense? Your works are there to motivate other people to do great works. Read on.
As at this day, verse 62, and the king and all Israel with him offered sacrifice before the Lord. And
Continue.
Verse 63, and Solomon offered a sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered unto the Lord, 22,000 oxen.
And that was after the initial sacrifice where the fire came down and absorbed it. He kept sacrificing. Read on.
And 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of the Most High. The same day did the king hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of the Lord. For there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before the Lord was too little to receive the burnt offerings.
So wait, okay. The same day did the Lord hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of the Lord. So not only was the temple hallowed, the court around the temple was hallowed at this particular time also. So they did these sacrifices, at least some of them, to hallow the court. Okay? So it wasn't just the temple that was hallowed. So read verse 64 again.
God, top of verse 64. The same day did the king hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of the Lord. For there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before the Lord was too little to receive the burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings.
So he had to sit back and must have had another altar put there to keep up with the volume, that 120,000 damn sheep and oxen. And that's why he hollowed the court out. Okay, read on.
Verse 65. And at the time Solomon held a feast, and all Israel with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before the Lord our power, 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days.
Okay, so we had a long feast in recognition to pleasing the Heavenly Father. Read on.
Verse 66. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went unto their tents joyful and glad of heart for all the goodness that the Lord had done for David his servant and for Israel his people.
Okay, let's jump to 2 Corinthians chapter 7. Now, 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 1 through 22 does the same thing. I don't want to go read the whole thing because I think that's redundant, but I do want to go into verse 18 to 22. So 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 18 through 22. It's still dealing with the prayers that Solomon had as they were hollowing out the temple and the courts. But 2 Kings was talking about the blessings and all the good that would happen to Israel if they kept up serving the Most High. Verse 18 down kind of explains what would happen if we stopped serving the Most High. Okay, and I think that's the difference in the two chapters, because as we're doing this, like I said earlier, we're not going to go into Chronicles after we do Kings because it's redundant. So we're going to sit back and bounce Kings and Chronicles until we finish up the rest of the Chronicles, okay, and Kings. So 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse
18.
18 so.
God. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 18. Then will I establish the throne of thy kingdom, according as I have covenanted covenanted
Yep.
with David thy father, saying, there shall not fail thee a man to be ruler in Israel.
So what he's saying is, this is a reminder that David's lineage was going to have a ruler in Israel all throughout time, all the way to Christ. There's another way we prove how David's entire lineage was going to have a king there, including Christ, which was the King of Kings. Read on.
Verse 20. Then will I pluck them up by the roots.
No, give me verse 19.
I'm sorry. Okay, verse 19. But if ye turn away and forsake my statutes and my commandments, which I have set before you, and shall go and serve other powers and worship them.
So now it's still that condition. You're on top, everybody's smiling and feeling euphoric and spiritual. But if we lose that momentum, if we start to break away, there's a consequence. Read on.
Then will I pluck them up by the roots out of my land which I have given them, and this house which I have sanctified for my name.
You know, it's crazy. Listen, you read all throughout the scriptures, it's not just Deuteronomy 28. It's a constant reminder of Deuteronomy 28. If you don't stay on point, I'm going to root you out. I'm going to pull you out from your comfort, from your situation, and you're going to be a servant in other people's lands if you don't value what I'm giving you. Read on.
Verse 20.
Yeah.
Then will I pluck them up by the roots out of my land which I have given them, and this house which I have sanctified for my name will I cast out of my sight, and will make it to be a proverb and a byword among all nations.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 21. And this house which is high shall be an astonishment to everyone that passes by it.
Everybody that passes by Israel is like, man, that place was a mighty badass place at one time. And then them Jews screwed it up, and now it's a damn a shithole, so to speak. You start seeing what happens with the King's Act. They said it was dirty, it was beat up. The king closed the doors. It was in a decrepit state at different periods of time based on the leadership. Okay, read on.
Middle of verse 21. So that he shall say, why hath the Lord done thus unto this land and unto this house? Verse 22. And it shall be answered, because they forsook the Lord power of their fathers.
There you go. We forgot the method. We forgot the way.
And the scary thing is, the thing can switch in a generation. Everything we build can switch next generation. That's what's scary about what we do for the Most High. We can try to do great things and serve and make changes, but you look up. This is why it's so important that we instill the same ethics and morals into your sons and your children. Because they can sit back here and forget what the hell you taught to live their own damn life. We're still subject to that being a possibility. But it's so important to give them everything you got, because you just don't know what the hell they're going to do with it. And our Israelite legacy depends on it. Read on.
Verse 22. And it shall be answered, because they forsook the Lord power of their fathers, which brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other powers, and worshipped them, and served them. Therefore hath he brought all this evil upon them.
You see the Most High send fire from heaven and light up a damn altar. You would think if you was a kid and saw that, that'd be a life-changing moment for you. But this is a story for certain people. Or if you didn't experience it, then serving the Most High ain't a real thing. Another reason why it's so important that we read, that we study, that we take this word, don't just take our word for it. As you're learning how to be a teacher, as you're learning how to study, you're going to have to study enough for it to make sense to you. And you got to realize not to be a parakeet to a war or dawayat. You got to understand it for yourself. We're here to provide templates and a foundation to understand this information. But if you can't see it, if you can't believe it, you better study and ask enough questions so that you can believe it.
It's clear.
Because people are buying into what you believe. Can you see it? Are you living it? If you can't see it, and if you're not living it, then nobody's going to be convinced enough through your words. You got to believe it. It's got to make sense to you. Every man has to be convinced in his what?
Own
mind. It's very important. Okay, are we done with that verse in 22?
We're done with that chapter.
Okay, now we're going to go back to Josephus. Chapter 8, book 4, paragraph 6.
6. You got it.
Yes, sir.
I was just thinking about it. Said all the evils upon them. It's like, okay, we got put in captivity. You know, we're still in captivity, but all these illnesses, but the plagues, like we're reading. Me and Emma were reading Isaiah chapter 3 about the plague of the hair and stuff like that. Just all these different things that the Most High put on us for being disobedient, for not following.
And you know what? It started off by us not following when things were good. And we get diminished to this lower state. But when things are good, this is why it's important that when you're on top, can you learn how to sustain being on top? When you're spiritually strong, when you spiritually feel good, can you start learning the patterns of how to stay strong? Why are you on top? Why are things going good in your life? Why is the Most High blessing you? You have to study and learn that too, so you can keep recreating that template. It's a spiritual template. So you don't have, because too many times Israel doesn't start to change till they hit rock bottom. You look at it in our life. You hit rock bottom, then all of a sudden you find the gumption to get back and ride the saddle again and fight again. Why is it got to be you're good then you fall? You're good then you fall. You're on a spiritual high and then you fall. That is us to a T. Am I right or wrong?
God, a lot of people say, I wish I could bottle this feeling.
That's you can. You can bottle this feeling. Write things out on paper. Write things out on paper. What do you got to do to maintain a mindset? But it's no different than we talk about diets. There's no such. Diet is an illusion. Am I right or wrong? Diet is an illusion. It's a big ass lie. There's a problem with a diet that you tell yourself that one day it's going to be over.
Right. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
But that's the problem with like being on point and staying strong. I'm going to stay on point and stay strong, and then one day I can exhale.
Right. Ain't no cheat day.
There's no cheat days, B. When you listen, now that's a mountain of an acceptance to deal with. But if you can accept there's no cheat days in diet, then you can get healthy. But if you accept it in the spiritual realm, there's no break and there's always expectation of growth. Once you accept that mountain of a reality, then you can stay strong. Get what I'm saying? That was why when Solomon was talking to the people, he said, not just doing what you're doing now, find a way to keep pushing yourself. That mentality is how you stay strong. Just think about this. If I'm here and I'm pushing to push past myself and I drop, I'm only going to drop to where I first started. Versus I'm here and I just keep diminishing down. It's a difference in philosophy. It's like a person trying to eat right. If I'm eating right and I'm going to challenge myself to eat even better, you might fall down to where you once were. You're less likely to fall all the way down. Does that make sense? That's how you sustain excellence.
So you're saying that complacency is the enemy of that growth as a nation. And we're
complacency or the expectation, they're looking for comfort.
Okay.
Or the break. That's what kills you.
The break kills you.
Because don't forget, when Solomon died, what was the first thing the people said? We need a break.
Yeah.
We need a damn break. Now you know what? Rehoboam should have gave him a break physically, while possibly challenging them to give more spiritually. There could have been a bunch of different things that could have been done to challenge Israel to want them to serve the Most High more. But there was no ideas, there was no planning on how to stimulate the nation. It was, I'm gonna make you lift more bricks. Bricks on bricks on bricks. There could have been things that challenged their spirit, to feed their desire to serve the Most High. Because that's what you do. Yeah, you might not have to physically work as hard, but you know what? Work is there. Work is ever present.
Yeah.
Can I embrace the challenge of looking for different type of work to stimulate my mind? Anyway, I don't want to keep driving the book, but this is why we keep falling. In our nation, you read all throughout Isaiah, Chronicles, Kings, these highs and lows, these extremes that we went through. Because there's extremes in us. We are too extreme of a nation to get rewarded with consistent blessings.
Yeah.
We're not balanced out.
That,
We're bipolar spiritually.
and that word keep is
I'm so happy. I'm so angry. I'm so happy. I'm so angry. There's no middle ground. There's no moderation.
Stability.
I'm on a spiritual high. I feel like flying. You know, I'm down at the bottom. I don't know if you hear that Lil Wayne song. It was a really negative song. But you're on the bottom. And then you sit back here to get you out of the bottom. You make extreme moves to get to the top. But there's just never just, how come we're not satisfied with, I'm just happy doing the right thing every day?
It's not first weights.
Because that's boring. It's boring. There's no stimulation, and just being the same guy every day. That's not fun. That's not stimulating. Anyway, so let's keep going. I'm sorry, no, we did with that. Let's go to paragraph 6. Let's get Nagaha here. Let me read a lot. That is fire. Did too much. Got tightened up that last one. I'm trying to change the notes, man. My fault.
Nagaha, Shah, Shabbatah, Ban Shemaiwan, Ban Yasha'Allah.
Nagaha, Shah Shabbatah, Ban Shemaiwan, Ban Yasha'Allah. I'm with you. Bro. Yahweh Hashem Yashar B'Katah.
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Brakatham.
Trying to learn how to change the pitch. It's not. It's not. But you know, I can't do it on will.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that little.
I got hit because there's certain sounds where it goes high pitched, and there's other sounds where it goes lower pitch, and I'm trying to control. I kind of want to go high, then low. Then it was like, Mayday, I was losing it. I hit a couple right, but then I think I was doing too much, but it's cool. I'm going to figure it out. Paragraph 6.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it was Josephus, sir. I'm sorry.
We're in book 8, chapter 4, paragraph 6, page 221.
Mm-hmm.
When all these solemnities were abundantly satisfied, and nothing was omitted that concerned the divine worship, the king dismissed them, and everyone went to their own houses, giving thanks to the king for the care he had taken of them, and the works he had done for them, and praying to the Most High to preserve Solomon to be their king for a long time. They also took their journey home with rejoicing and making merry, and singing hymns to the Most High. And indeed, the pleasure they enjoyed took away the sense of the pains they all underwent in their journey home.
Now, this is a very important thing, because as for all the young men that are trying to learn how to lead, that are trying to learn how to be better teachers and examples, if we're doing it right, there should be an environment that's fostered in a school, in a camp, at a household, that people enjoy the environment. People enjoy the environment of serving the Most High. That's how you know you're doing it right. They left the Feast of Tabernacles happy. They were at peace. And even though it took great sacrifice to get from the land of Dan all the way to Jerusalem, the land of Simeon to get to Jerusalem, and all the work they had to put into the temple, the work was worth it because of what came out of it. The experiences they got in Christ were worth it. And I think that's a very important challenge for us. Not to make serving the Most High fun, because there's no way you're going to make it fun. But can you create a program, can you create a household that at least sees that care and effort is put to the greatest of their ability to make it an environment conducive to serving the Most High, an environment conducive to pleasing the Heavenly Father. And if we can make an environment conducive to pleasing the Heavenly Father, study and learn the Most High, then at least the people who want to do that can find happiness in that arena. Because if you don't make the environment and the atmosphere conducive to really being enthusiastic about studying, really being enthusiastic about serving the Most High, you're going to have morale's going to be down. Morale, if you're sending out mixed signals from the top, you're going to have mixed signals down at the bottom. If you're not passionate about teaching, if you're not passionate about committing to the work, nobody around you is going to be passionate. And I, in Solomon's efforts, his example, his attention to detail, his commitment to this work made it easy to admire what he put to the table. And I think the power of his example and his dedication and was an inspiration to people. Because that's what people need more than anything. Our people need an inspiration. They need motivation to do good, motivation to change, motivation to want to be better than what they once were.
They need a reason.
We need a reason, but they need to see the reason.
Yeah.
They need to see the reason in live and living color, flesh and blood. They gotta see you happy. They gotta see you happy and enthusiastic, doing what you're doing for your family or at the school with the brothers. They gotta see your passion, and they'll feed off your passion. And that's what the people were feeding off of. It was easier to overcome their difficulties because they chose to feed more off the passion and the positivity that was in front of them than what they were losing. That's the power of example. That's the power of taking what you do for the Most High serious. And if you're not going through the motions, you have a better chance of other people not going through the motions. If you're passionate about this work, you have a greater chance of other people wanting to be positive about that work.
So your passion preserves the passions of those around you.
Oh, your passion inspires others' passion. Motivates, inspires, and it's easier to get past what you're going through and what you're losing because of the power that you see in other people push.
We always say spirits jump like frogs.
Mm-hmm.
In the negative. But it's the same thing in the positive.
God.
They're seeing smoking cigarettes and doing dope and being slothful and not going to work and selfishness in the home and isolation and conflict and domestic violence. Those passions, those are still called passions. They're just negative passions. That's what's passed down to the next generation, or my people that are associated closest to us. So we have to convert our negatives into positives so that people around us can have something to feed off of. And then when you have need, you can feed off of them.
Got it. And this is what Solomon's example and his experience did for the people. Yes, sir.
Psalms 37:4 says, "Delight thyself also in the Lord." And one of the definitions for delight is a more permanent pleasure than joy, and not dependent on sudden excitement.
No, you gotta slow that up. That was the shit. Excuse my French. Because what it was explaining is delight is a longer lasting joy. It's a self-sustained joy. It's joy, you're smiling for that moment.
Oh, feel good.
You're happy. It's a feel good moment. Yeah. Delight is a long lasting happiness in what you're doing. Because that's what people are feeding off of. Because people are natural reading of. They'll read you. Today he's smiling today, he's happy this week, but next week he's unhappy. He's grumpy, he's snappy. But if you're every day is the same day and you're smiling every day and you find happiness in doing this work every day, it's easy to feed off that. That makes you feel good about what you're doing. Because I tell you what, when you're feeling tired and you're beat up and you see somebody strong, he's the same guy and he's powering through. When you're weak, what do? You kind of attach yourself to that strength and you ride that person's strength until you're able to get strong yourself. That's so important. So what's the definition of delight again? It's
Delight,
a great definition.
The 1828, like fifth one down.
You're dropping bars, you're not taking your time. When you got a bar like that, slow it down. Slow down the definition. Enunciate.
Says delight is a more permanent pleasure than joy.
That's phenomenal.
And not dependent on sudden excitement.
That's like alacrity. We missed that.
It's not even my 18, bro.
It's on my 18.
It's not my 18.
I got my 18, and it says
Gotta
it.
get
No, but that delight is a more permanent pleasure than joy, and not dependent on sudden excitement. So I can be happy, and I don't need all these stimulants to keep me going. Because a lot of people need to get stimulated to find happiness and passion.
External stimulation.
External carnal stimulation. Delight is inward. I'm at peace with the Most High. I'm at peace with my life. I'm at peace with my circumstances. There's no inner wars there. I'm okay. Even if things aren't going the way I want that day, it's not changing me inwardly.
Yeah.
Our people are so reactionary. If something on the outside of my periphery isn't going right, then I'm angry. I'm pissed.
I'm disturbed.
I'm vexed. I'm disturbed. I'm angry. And then my anger is rubbed out on everybody else. If there's an inward delight, none of this shit out here matters, man. Only thing that matters is, did I get my time to study? Did I get my time to please the Most High? Did I get my time to show the Most High that I'm appreciative of what I've gotten?
You're right.
That delight is phenomenal. That's great at it.
That's
But that's what we have to constantly show through our actions. Because if we can teach everybody every day, I'm here with you. I'm sweating with you. I'm suffering with you. But I'm okay. We're okay. We're gonna get through this. That's important. And that was what Solomon's example. He inspired people that weren't just naturally motivated. And can we be that for our people? Well, let's go. That was great. Let's go back to Josephus.
God. They also took their journey home with rejoicing and making merry and singing hymns to the Most High. And indeed, the pleasure they enjoyed took away the sense of the pains they all underwent in their journey home. So when they had brought the ark into the temple and had seen its greatness and how fine it was, and had been partakers of the many sacrifices that had been offered and of the festivals that had been solemnized, they everyone returned to their own cities. But a dream that appeared to the king in his sleep informed him that the Most High had heard his prayers, and that it would not only preserve the temple, but would always abide in it. That is, in this case, his posterity and the whole multitude would be righteous. And for himself it said that if he continued according to the admonitions of his father, he would advance him to an immense degree of dignity and happiness, and that then his posterity should be kings of that country, of the tribe of Judah forever. But that still, if he should be found a betrayer of the ordinances of the law, and forget them, and turn away to the worship of strange gods, he would cut them off by the roots, and would neither suffer any remainder of his family to continue, nor will overlook the people of Israel, or preserve them any longer from afflictions.
He's like, listen, that love and that protection is conditional on your actions. And that's a reminder for all of us. Most High is not going to just love us because he wants to love us. You have to earn that love. You have to earn that blessing. You have to earn that protection. Read on.
Or preserve them any longer from afflictions, but would utterly destroy them with 10,000 wars and misfortunes.
Damn, he says, God,
that's crazy. Read that again.
I need some yellow, man. Y'all got some
back,
yellow on your
got
hands,
some
man?
blue eye.
Because my yellow is all worn out. I worn it to a nub. I take orange. Cool. I was like, damn, man, that's horrible.
He meant that.
You gotta go a little higher up. You gotta prep that, man.
Line 127. But that still, if he should be found a betrayer of the ordinances of the law, and forget them, and turn away to the worship of strange gods, he would cut them off by the roots.
By the root, dog. That's identity.
No.
Your root is your identity.
You forget who you are.
And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
Because he's like, y'all don't value being an Israelite anyway. If you don't value being a Hebrew, then why should you walk around here telling yourself you're a Hebrew? I'm gonna call you a Negro now.
Get your
You're gonna be an
Nubian.
African American.
Get your Nubian on.
You're gonna be a Viking. You're gonna be a Celtic. You're gonna what are those damn those Brits? You're gonna be a Brit. You're gonna be a
Breton.
No. What were those dudes in
Angela, something like that.
You're gonna be a Gaul.
Guards.
Or it was Gaul.
Vandal.
Yeah, a Vandal, but it's another one. It was Gauls and Vandals. And what were those dudes in Britain?
Vandalizer.
They're the ones who were fighting the Romans a little
Yeah.
bit. Damn it. It was Gauls in France. Vandals were around. That was a little higher. Visigoths were like Vikings in that area. I forgot it, man. It doesn't matter. The point is, you're going to be, Drew was
Barbarians?
same damn Skype thing. This is all the same, man.
Right.
You're going to be named these weird ass names because you don't value being an Israelite.
The Danes.
You'd be a Crip.
Danes, but that's an
Crip Nation. Nation you belong to.
Oh
bro.
my God.
That's one of the things we are now.
It is. It's horrible. That's a horrible determination. But yeah, we're everything but a Hebrew because we didn't value the name. We didn't value the identity. We don't value the laws. You don't value the identity. You don't value the perks.
Don't deserve to be called that.
God. Let alone keep your land. Let alone keep your temple. It's crazy, huh?
And forget them, and turn away to the worship of strange gods, he would cut them off by the roots, and would neither suffer any remainder of his family to continue, nor would overlook the people of Israel, or preserve them any longer from afflictions,
God.
but will utterly destroy them with 10,000 wars and misfortunes.
Come on, misfortunes. Not just wars. Misfortunes.
But you gotta understand, listen, that wasn't just,
Take them apart.
first of all, it wasn't 10,000 wars when we had the kingdom. Those wars happened after, right? All the times the Romans was kicking our ass out, the Greeks were whipping our ass out.
Andrew Jackson.
Well, then you get to America, with all these L's we took out.
Good what?
We couldn't. The Native Americans couldn't get our independence out. Don't forget all the times Esau sat back here. We're going to Nicaragua and Chile and wipe out thousands upon thousands of people out. The whole Iran-Contra standoff. The Esau was funneling the Contras to wipe out and establish genocide to the people in Central and South America. They were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Nicaraguans getting wiped out in the 80s. They were wiping out all of our people in Central America just for the sake of dominance and control, because we just didn't want to get ruled by their version of fascist governments.
And at the same time, killing Judah with the crack epidemic.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Which
using the
which
funds
funded
from
their
that,
war.
using the funds from the Contras and the drug sales to take out and control and fight the Iranians because they wanted their oil. Because the funny thing is, the CIA needed some slush money to do all their dirt and to keep buying weapons from Halliburton and the American companies to send to Iran to take out the Iraqians. That's what the drug money was used for. They had to have money that wasn't on the books to buy the weapons to go to other countries, because you couldn't sit back and take it from the government spending from the Congress. The government wasn't going to pay to sit back here and take out the Iranian people or to give weapons to the Iraqi people to fight the Iranians. So I need some money that's off the books, that's unaccounted for, to sit back here and fight these proxy wars across the damn country.
I'll get it done.
So listen, to sit back and fund the wars in Indonesia, to get the natural resources from Indonesia, East Timor, you name it, to go to Vietnam. The list goes on. And they will sit back and set up banks, international banks, not international, but banks where you can funnel the drug money through. So people that are in those countries who are working as proxies for the United States to take the money out of those banks to sit back and fund the wars, to give the weapons and to buy the military supplies they need and the infrastructure needed to take these people out. They did the same to the Afghanis. The only reason they went to Afghanistan is because the Taliban said, you know what, man, we're going to burn these poppy fields. We're not doing deals with y'all no more.
Oh, we gotta go. We gotta save some.
Now we're going to get you.
People.
Now we got to free the totalitarian governments. What they don't tell you is that they kept talking about how Saddam was the butcher of Baghdad, and he's doing all these atrocities to the people. You know, in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, that whole Middle East, you know the ones who had the worst record for war crimes was Saudi Arabia.
Saudi,
Saudi Arabia, but they were in bed with them. They were getting. They were sitting back here, major oil producers. So it wasn't about atrocities. It's about, I gotta sit back here and take your oil and use your natural resources. So as time has progressed, the war on crime. You know, Nancy Reagan was like, say no to drugs, but her husband was the one bringing the drugs up.
That was the cover.
That was the game. We're gonna talk about we're anti-drugs, but my Vice President Bush was the head of the CIA in the 50s and 60s and 70s. These dudes were kingpins. Listen, Bush, Cheney. These dudes were dogs. They were dogs, you name it. They ran this damn place.
Gangsters.
Yeah.
That's pure gangsterism.
Real.
It's like, listen, every time, and this is a key word when you go through history, when a king or a leader was trying to nationalize his government's natural resources, that was when you knew they were going to kill him.
Yep.
But what they would do is, they can't just kill you. They got to create a smear campaign and say nationalizing your natural resources is communist. You're against democracy. You're against free trade. You're against privatization. Because privatization is the ability for America to come in, take your natural resources at pennies to the dollar, bring our infrastructure, our business model to your country, make all the money from your country, and your people can't get nothing from it. Nationalizing it is, okay, you know what? We don't need a middleman like America to take all of our business from us. We'll sit back and create our own supply lines. We'll use our own resources and take all the profits from it to help the poor, to create higher level education. Education. How do you get whole people? Education. Jobs, more food, more resources. All the money stays in your country. How they break you is they push privatization. Now all of your resources go out. All your monies go out and nothing stays in.
Wow.
Even all of the infrastructure that's promised, the dams, the water systems, the electrical systems, they're only working and helping the elite. I've been to Guatemala. There's only the people with money enjoy the power and enjoy the lighting and enjoy the water and all those resources. Everybody else is walking or on these damn cartoon buses out. I never forget. They were these buses that you know about gas emissions? It was pushing out black gas and soot out of the trucks. And they had Animaniacs on these old buses. I don't know who the hell was selling them these off-ass brand trucks out. It was the worst shit. In the poor neighborhoods out, everything was poor out. They had nothing. The poor had nothing. They had these markets where the meat, they had this one piece of chicken out. It's out there all day, bro. Chicken is not like this. Hanging on the damn string out. Like, what about the fucking refrigeration in this damn thing? This is not sanitary. They just had chickens and flies like. I'm like, there's like 15 flies in this fucking thing. Who's gonna eat this shit? They was getting eaten, bro. That was the regular poor Antiguan Guatemalans. You had a small group of people that was actually, you got stores and restaurants, and only a handful can enjoy it. That is privatization. What the quote unquote nationalistic leaders were called communists. They would sit back in CIA documents. It was like the Russians weren't a threat in Latin America. They weren't. They weren't even trying to go to Latin America. The only time they went to Latin America was when they went to where? Cuba. But outside of Cuba, they weren't going to Central America and South America. But they had to use it as a cover to keep privatizing these countries. And when the country was offered these privatized contracts and they said no, all of a sudden there was a plane crash. All of a sudden there was a coup, and these rebels were sitting back here overthrowing this fascist communist government. They did the same thing in Iran in the 50s. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of study on that. Listen, Esau is truly the devil.
Yeah.
And how they've operated and controlled this world is the worst thing ever. But you know what? It's his time. His time's about to end. When we had our time, we screwed the pooch up.
And on the note of these banks and these schemes they do, it says ships seized of $1.3 billion, not million, $1.3 billion of cocaine or cocaine bust.
Where'd it go?
It's owned by J.P. Morgan Chase, CBS News.
Well, my point is, okay, once it's confiscated, okay, J.P. Morgan Chase, it was their book. My question is this: after the drugs are seized, where does it go? It goes to the police station, right? And they great drug bust. So after that, where does the drugs go?
Distributed into the ghetto.
It goes back. It goes back to where it was originally going to go.
Oh no.
Which is the ghetto.
Okay.
Oh, it's still going back there, and the proceeds are getting funneled back to the CIA to do their missions to pay for these what do you call them black ops workers who are protecting their oil fields out there in Syria. Did y'all know that 80% of the Syrian oil is going to the United States?
Not 80%.
80% of Syrian oil is going to the United States. You know why? Because they sat back here and completely destabilized the country. You have Syria, the head of Syria. United States, through the Arab Spring in their propaganda campaigns, tried to sit back here and oust the king of the leader of Syria. How they did it? They brought a quote unquote, they financed a democratic extremist group to sit back and infiltrate the country. That country has 4 different sets of leadership in the country. You got the PKK, you have the Kurds, you have ISIS. PKK is in Turkey, but you got the Kurds, you have ISIS, you have the Syrian government, and you have this democratic extremist group in Syria right now, fighting. Now what they did is, what the United States does now, they don't bring troops to do the dirty work. They send their little hired mercenaries to sit back here and ensure that the oil is getting shipped out. There's records showing, I saw it online, there's these military images of truckloads and truckloads of oil being shipped from the east of Syria out of the country. Listen, they did a not an embargo, but the same thing they're doing with Russia. How they freeze your bank accounts? Because now Russia is referred to as a not terrorist organization, but their money is frozen because of what they're doing in Ukraine, right? They've held like $400 to $500 billion of Russia's assets, and that's how they're sanctioned. It's a sanction. That's what it is. They're like $400 to $500 billion of Russia's money. They're holding it as a sanction, and they use that money as float money to pay for business transactions around the country. So what they break you is they sanction you. Talking about sanctions, they sanctioned Afghanistan in the 90s. Or no, I'm sorry, not the 90s. It was right after 9/11. So 2000s, right? Yeah. They sanctioned held on to $7 billion of Afghanistan's money. America's out of Afghanistan now. They moved on. Just last week, they cashed that $7 billion and kept it. They kept the money. They kept the sanction money. They didn't put it back in their account. You don't think the Afghanistani people need $7 billion to rebuild their country?
Gangster.
They put sanctions on you because they were terrorists. Now the terrorists are pushed out of Afghanistan. Now they're saying, we're going to put that in our account now. Thanks. You don't think the people out there need $7 billion to reestablish their country? That is a straight rob heist. That's global gangster shit. Now there's an upcoming energy crisis up in Europe.
Yeah.
Did you hear that the French stole oil from Yemen? Last week. How about that? They sat back in there. They're stealing oil to get prepped for this damn
winter.
Yes, winter. Listen. I know you're not going to see it on MSNBC and Fox. You ain't getting that shit on there. They're not going to tell you that stuff. They're not telling you that these people are robbing. They didn't tell you, we took $7 billion out of that.
Alex Jones didn't say it.
No, they don't even go on geopolitical like that. They don't do that. They don't do it. It's nothing but robbing and stealing and cheating going all around. It's the truth, huh? Because listen, everything is about fighting to get natural resources, power, and control, and to cash out on it. Listen, you know Pelosi invested. The reason she went out there to damn Taiwan, she's vested into the #1 computer chip company in the world.
Oh.
Yeah.
But when she did it is, her son is on the board. So her son's on the board, she's on the board. Now she wanted to check on her money. I don't give a shit about none of this other shit. We're gonna instigate the damn Chinese, and I'm gonna go check on my bread. Get out of here.
That's what's saying. Yeah.
Checking my money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show, and it really is, China, you a bitch. You ain't gonna sit back and do nothing about this. We're gonna go over here. I'm gonna check on my shit, and what you gonna do about it? Nothing. That's what they doing, huh?
With an employee discount on that.
Well, listen, she got an employee discount. Listen. Taiwan is prized because nobody else in the world can produce computer chips at their rate. Nobody else in the world.
Right.
This whole world is going digital.
Ooh.
It's been digital.
Right.
Listen, man, there's so much that's going under everybody's nose. Is crazy. But all this is happening right under our noses, and I don't even know how we got to this. How did we get to this, man? How did we get to this point?
Misfortune, sir.
Misfortune.
10,000 more.
10,000.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. I got lost. I'm talking about China and oil and shit. I can talk about this all damn day long.
You said it's not just wars.
Yes.
And then you explain it.
Well, it's just wars against humanity because we talked about how the drugs were sitting back here and going into our neighborhoods. It's just funding proxy wars halfway across the world to sit back here and sustain American hegemony, which is just power and dominance all over the world. We're just pawns in a bigger game. But all these thousands of wars are just attacks against our nation. That's where it was. The 1,000 wars were sitting back here, and all the wars against the South American countries all these ousting of quote unquote dictators. They weren't dictators. The people that they were ousting were the ones who were in support of developing the country. The ones they brought in were dictators who were trained in America. What's the man? Noriega was trained in a military base in Georgia to sit back and set up all those PSYOP missions. All those dudes with those chrono uniforms in the 50s and 60s who looked all badass, who were mass murdering people. They got trained in the United States, and they were put in there to sit back and execute their orders, to give them sweetheart deals on the natural resources and to wipe out anybody who protested. Their job was, I'm going to make you rich. I'm going to take care of you and your family. Give us a deal on the products and the oil and the resources. You handle killing those people. I'll supply you with the weapons. You're going to buy them, though. Just, our hands are clean. There is a saying about the democratic process, and I'm learning it so it's not as fluent as like Kyle Cobb would say it, because he could flow this stuff here it is. It was the engineering of consent, and it was really the ability to sit back here and establish plausible deniability. In the 80s, it was plausible deniability. I'm really sitting back here funneling all the death and destruction in Nicaragua, but you can't prove it. Because what was happening in the 50s, you can sit back as government records that the CIA was in control of ousting the democratic leader of Iran. It's on, and Kermit Dan Roosevelt, which is the grandson of Fred FDR, was the head of the CIA, who was behind the PSYOP mission. You can sit back and go all throughout history to see how the United States was overrunning leaders who were about their people. The leader in Guatemala in '54, I always forget the guy's name. Chile was Pinochet. All these guys that were for their people end up getting murked. And then they brought in totalitarian governments to sit back here, destroy the people who oppose, keep the people more broke, and just to pay the elites off. And give everybody their deals. Like, you remember Chiquita bananas and stuff like that?
Yep.
That all came from Guatemala. And that fruit company was ran by George Bush. Yeah, so they sat back and got the corner market on the fruits and vegetables, and they used their CIA connection to get it done. And they wiped out all the leaders of those countries to sit back and get it accomplished. People that cared about the people, they were getting killed. Yeah, the fascist ones were the ones who were put in positions to run the people.
The movie, The Good Shepherd.
That is
a great movie.
The Good Shepherd.
It goes into all of that.
The Good Shepherd.
And The Lord of War, with Nicolas Cage.
Mhm.
That's a good one too.
But you know what it doesn't do? The only problem with Lord of War is that it doesn't teach you on a governmental level.
True.
It's like this one badass Yuri dude does all this. Nah, listen. Yeah, he was an asset, but he's speaking for a government.
Exactly.
He's speaking on behalf of a government because the government's going to get paid off those arms, not this one rich flipping Greek. Was he Greek? What was he? He's Yuri something. He was some
type of Euro
Slovakian guy.
Yeah.
And he ain't going to be the one that makes all that money. No, that monies are going to the CIA to keep funding these proxy wars that you need. You need the money off the drugs and the guns to keep your war machine going. Anyway, I can talk about this all damn day long. But these 10,000 wars, bro, these are all the wars that were going to be. Pretty much is just the resistance to break us out. The wars are the resistance to break us and to keep us broken because we didn't value serving the Most High. You know what you got to understand is the Most High blessed these nations with a greater wisdom than us, greater strategy and infrastructure than us. That was part of his blessing. Wasn't Esau blessed with the sword?
Yes.
Listen, the scripture says the thief cometh not but to steal, kill, and destroy. He was blessed with that ability.
Yeah.
The ability to create a quote-unquote democratic government, but to be skilled enough to convince the people to go along with their totalitarianism and their doctrines. That was what I was saying about the permission to consent. The difference between what America does than this Hamite in damn Central Africa is, in Central Africa, if you don't do what he says, he's going to cut you with a machete and shoot you. In America, they've created a system of suggestion. They've created a system of propaganda to convince you that them destroying the earth and conquering the world was in the name of democracy.
Make you seem more humane.
So let me get you motivated to back our totalitarian moves. That was the skill. When he says about how the world wondered at the beast, how in the hell does this guy do this shit? You know why? Because he deceived the whole world that it was about democracy.
Made it seem more humane.
He said us spreading democracy to the world is a more humane way than these dictators. But they're doing the same thing that dictators are. It's just presented in a way to get us to like accept it and embrace it.
Economic hitman.
Well, but it's that too. But it's the whole process is their system was perfected, and the Most High gave them that wisdom.
Right.
And they're gonna run circles around. We're pulling Bible verses, cool. Well, you know, we better sit back here and just wait this out till the Most High pulls us out of the situation. He gave them this wisdom, and whatever we do, he got 10,000 wars waiting for us to sit back and stifle us and break us. And that's it. And the truth is, all we got is the Most High. I'm a smart wife. No, you ain't. You can forget it, bro.
It's his time, man.
You can forget it, because you know what? We sit back here and try to raise them. All they're going to do is use that propaganda to break us. They've already done. All it takes is they can just sway public opinion to go against us. Nobody want to mess with us no more. We have no power in this place. It's their time and they got to fall. It's that simple. So, but you know what ends up happening? When we showed the Most High that we didn't appreciate it, that's when you read in Daniel's chapter 4. I think it's 4. I got to go here and then we'll go back to the topic. Daniel's chapter 4. I got to keep practicing this, man, because this is not easy to retain all this information. Daniel's chapter 4 and verse 17.
Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones.
This demand is by the decree of the watchers, the angels, and by the demand of the word of the holy ones. Read on.
To the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men.
Once we forfeited serving the Most High and taking the Most High serious, Most High, okay, then I'm going to sit back and rule over all these people. And I'm going to sit back here and start lifting up different kings and lifting up different countries to power. Since we threw our power away, threw our options away, he sat back and lifted up other nations. Read on.
And giveth it to whomsoever he will.
The Most High now is giving up the power, rulership, and authority to other nations, to other kingdoms. Read on.
And setteth up over it the basis of men.
He set up the basis of men to rule us. Esau. He set up the basis of men, Esau, to rule us. And he gave them the basis of men, the wisdom and understanding to dominate and establish hegemony across the world. He gave them that wisdom. We didn't want it. What do you think Solomon was talking about in those prayers? He was like, listen, we could be the world powers. We could be the city on the hill where the entire world admires and follows and embraces. But we say, I want to do my drugs. I want to smoke. What are you talking about? Putting the mouth to the branch?
Yeah, nose to the branch.
No, I want to put the nose to the branch. I want to serve other gods. I think that's more important than looking at things bigger and being a world national power. Because that's what Solomon was trying to set us up for. We said, no, we don't want this. We want to stay low level. So we gave it to a nation that wanted it. And they did it corrupt. But all of our sinning led us down a path of having to fall, for a brief time rise up in Europe, and then fall back down again. And he's going to give it to who he wants to give it. He's going to set up the basis men with this structured, highly technical society, and we have no idea how to set up infrastructure. He does, though. He's used his power of infrastructure, his power, the wisdom of his banking system, and how he's able to sit back here and build all this stuff with money that has no value. Funny money, When they sat back here and set up the Federal Reserve System, they set up a way to sit back here and control and dominate the entire world off of money that ain't even there.
Right, yeah. It's crazy.
That's how they're wandering with the beast. But the Most High gave him that wisdom. And that was part because we didn't want it. So we need to go all through this shit just to learn to appreciate and value him. To get the power back in our hands to run the world the right way. Anyway, let that go, and let's get back to Antiquities.
Yeah.
Bottom part of Antiquities of the Jews, Book 8, Chapter 4, Paragraph 6.
Paragraph 6, line 127, the end of line 127. But will utterly destroy them with 10,000 wars and misfortunes.
It's crazy, bro.
Will cast them out of the land which he had given their fathers, and make them sojourners in strange lands.
And that's what we've been doing this whole time. We've been sojourning in strange lands to this present day.
Right.
Read on.
And deliver that temple which was now built to be burnt and spoiled by the enemies.
Damn, bro.
And that city to be utterly overthrown by the hands of their enemies, and make their miseries deserve to be a proverb.
The miseries of the proverb, Bible. The suffering is the proverb, Bible. Read on.
And such as should very hardly be credited for the stupendous magnitude. To their neighbors, when they should hear of them, should wonder at their calamities, and very earnestly inquire for the occasion, why the Hebrews, who have been so far advanced by the Most High to such glory and wealth, should be then so hated by him.
So this is the funny thing. Hold this and go to, I hope I got the verse on. I think it is. Yep. Read Revelation chapter 6 verse 2. Because this is the question that the nations have. How in the hell did these Hebrews who the Most High loved and valued so much in the beginning? Because when you get from Genesis to Second Kings. Yeah, Second Kings and Second Chronicles. The Most High was really working with them. They were the heads of the world. How did they go from the heads of the world or the examples of the world to where we're at now? Read Revelation 6 and 2.
Revelation chapter 6, verse 2. And I saw, and behold, a white horse.
When you sit back and deal with those horsemen, you're not dealing with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and they're all coming here at the end of the times, and the white horse is the Pope. That's bullshit, man. These horses, what does horse represent? Power, rulership, and authority. Okay, here we go again. Power, rulership, and authority, right? We're sitting back here in verse 2. What are we seeing? This is the time when the authority was righteous. Because white means righteous. I'm not going to go into all the white means righteousness verse. I think we get it at this point. At this time was when the authority was righteous. From the time of Moses, or from the time of Adam to the time of Solomon, there was righteous authority on the earth. There was a righteous vibration on the earth. Okay? When we fell out of power, and then it went to the Babylonians, it was the beginning of the diminishment of the world. Read on.
And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer.
When it really boils down to it, this was the era when Israel was on top and we were conquering. The era of David, the era of Solomon. We were the standard of the world. From the time of Adam, when the world government was the adhering to the Heavenly Father, to the climax of Solomon's kingdom, was the time of the white horse, the righteous authority on earth. Then we start sitting back here. After that righteous authority is when things start. And the funny thing is, it was when righteous was on earth, but there was even semblances in the Babylonian kingdom and the Persian and Mede kingdom where there was still honor and respect. There was a respect for people serving their powers. There was still respect until that next horse came in. And that next horse was what? Was red. When the Edomites came in, that was when things started falling apart. But this first phase was when righteousness and honor actually mattered. Then you sit back and get to the third horse, it goes back into what? It was when righteousness and honor mattered again. That was when Israel ruled in Europe. But I don't want to go there. I think I already did, but you get the point though. All I'm trying to say is that white horse was when it was honor and righteousness amongst the people. Amongst Israel. When we forfeited that, we decided we didn't want to live this life the way the Most High intended it. Then he sat back here, and then he let Esau have his run at it. And he started giving it to the bases of men. Because don't forget in Daniel's 2, he still looked at Babylon as a head of gold. He still looked at the Persians as silver. The quality of materials are getting rancid by the Greeks and the Romans. Because that's how he looked at them, as more of a baser nation. Yeah.
Zechariah 9:13.
Oh, I think so. I think so. What does it say? Just quote it real quick.
When I have bent Judah for me, build a bow with Ephraim.
Yep.
And raise up thy son Zion against thy son.
It's still that bow. Then that bow is of Judah and Ephraim.
Right.
That bow is of Judah and Ephraim, and we were used to sit back here and wipe out the nations. And through Solomon, through David's fighting and clearing out of all the people around him, all the wars, he did all the dirty work, so Solomon could do the spiritual work. That was us at our spiritual peak. We were that white horse.
Right.
Israel at their peak was that white horse. And then we diminished. But let that go back to the point of where we're at in Josephus, is that we climaxed, and he allowed the nations to take over after that. He allowed the rest of the world to sit back here and have their shot at running the world. And that was also part of our punishment. And the funny thing is, you'll see, every time we collapsed as a nation after that, or every time things got worse, is because we didn't accept our punishment. When we were sitting back here, and we were the Romans. You know why the Romans ended up sitting back here and besieging Israel? Does anybody remember? The Romans besieged Israel. The Romans didn't give a shit about the fact that we served the Most High. They got mad at us when we got tired of being up under the Romans. And we decided we weren't, because the Romans wanted us to sacrifice our animals to pray and look after the Romans. That was what they wanted. Sit back here and keep doing your sacrifices for you, and throw some animals on there for us. And we wanted to be assholes and say, no, forget that. We want our independence. And we started wanting to rebel and not accept the fact that it wasn't our time anymore. Our time had passed. The funny thing is, you know who built the temple up the second time? Or the third time? It was Herod. White boy. That got the funds from the Romans. The Romans let us do it. They got a loan from the Romans, and the white man built the temple up again. Because we were in such a decrepit state, we weren't good enough. The funny thing is when the second time they say it happened too, the Persians gave us the gold back from the Babylonians to build our temple up, but it still wasn't. It was still shabby. It wasn't as good as it was once.
Ezra chapter.
That was in Esdras,
Nehemiah.
and Nehemiah. But it was a lower level than what it once was. Herod took it to the next level, made it wider, made it bigger, perfected it.
He built Masada.
God. But the point goes back to what? Reason we kept losing, we wanted to rebel and get mad at the fact that we were servants. We threw our option away, time of kings. We screwed the pooch. We didn't want to rebel. We didn't want to be in order with the kings in head of it, the powers that be. We were angry at the Romans. We was angry at the damn Greeks. And then that's how we kept getting stung. We wanted to rebel against the people that was over us. Khan. Babylon too. Not the Greeks. Babylon. Because the Greeks, the Babylonians just wanted us to sit back here. He said, listen, man, you guys are free to serve your gods. Just send me my money and don't align yourself with the king of Egypt. What we do? Align ourselves with the king of Egypt. And wonder why they come and ransack us. It didn't even happen that quick. The Babylonians came down, and the guy that didn't follow orders, the king that didn't follow orders, they threw him over the damn ledge. And they put a new king in front of him. A new Israelite king in there. We just kept being rebellious and not accepting that our time had passed. That was the problem. If we would have accepted that, our time came and went, now it's the time for us to be servants, we wouldn't have got hit as hard as we got hit. Our issues got harder because we want to rebel.
I don't want to say this too loud. Is that like the Black Panther too?
Well, I'm going to say this.
Is that like a same spirit?
I'm going to say this. If we would have sat back here, kept our head down, and just came together and served the Most High, He would bring us out when it's time for us to come out. It's still about that. What's that? Wait ye on the Lord. We ain't supposed to sit back and we're going to raise up and get guns and let's really get smashed in a minute.
Moses said the powers that be are ordained by him.
And that's the point. They're ordained by him. And every time we want to kick against the pricks, when we get stung. And our situation gets worse. He didn't say to assimilate in March either. He said to sit back here, come together, and sit back and separate yourself from this place so the Most High can make the judgment of this place that much cleaner and quicker. Anyway, man. So, where are we at?
Line 128, sir, the end of it.
Yeah, let's read that.
And that city to be utterly overthrown by the hands of their enemies, and make their miseries deserve to be a proverb, and such as should very hardly be credited for the stupendous magnitude. To their neighbors, when they should hear of them, should wonder at their calamities, and very earnestly inquire for the occasion, why the Hebrews, who have been so far advanced by the Most High to such glory and wealth, should be then so hated by him.
Because we broke the law. We was glorious, we had wealth, we had power, we had influence, and it was all good as a week ago out. Everything fell apart. And after that, all the nations took off. Boom! Babylon, Persia, then Greece, then Rome, then the Visigoths took out Constantinople. No, not Constantinople. The Visigoths took out Rome. 476 AD. And that was the fall of Rome. Then we came into power. We fell out of power in 1453. 1,000 years. And that's where it went. And then we had a little run in. There was more honor and respect and chivalry at that time. And after that, that boy really started getting you then. The spirit of death was even, listen, at least the Romans was like, listen, we want our money. Let you be sovereign, do your thing, just send us our tributes. they became even more tyrannical the second time when they got back in power, when the Spanish got their power in the 1400s. They're sitting back here wiping out entire peoples and just robbing and pillaging everything. It got even worse. That was the spirit of death that came through the world. Colonization, democracy, you name it. Anyway, robbing of the entire people of their power and their influence and their natural resources. The only way a country can sustain themselves is by their natural resources. That's how you make your money. That's what you call your gross GDP. Gross domestic product. What can I produce to kick out to get me money? So I can produce exports. You make money by your exports. But the nations are taking your number one or number two cash cow of exports, your country has no way to sustain itself. Especially that you take the exports and you create a mechanism where the people aren't educated enough to even work the jobs that you provided out there. Then who's making the money out of those jobs you brought for the country? Foreigners. You're completely taking everything that a country has to sustain themselves. Anyway, even back in those days, if the countries weren't playing by your rules and the farmers didn't want to sit back and sell at low rate prices, they sit back and just shoot insecticides and poison over your crops, kill your crops. Brother, this is the game, bro. Nobody knows it, but the rest of the world knows. That's how you know that propaganda worked to a T. Oh, shit, I didn't know that shit. Damn, right. That's crazy.
Of course you didn't know.
You know why? Because that's the power of propaganda.
Right.
That's how they get you. You sit back and see how foul this place is. You understand how this is the house of every foul and unclean bird. There's depths to that. There's depth to that. Or the thief coming out but to steal, kill, and destroy. All these peacekeeping missions. It's all about sitting back here and destroying the people and robbing them of their wealth. I can go from country to country to country. It's the same thing. Dark-skinned population, the people. The exploitation of our people. The scripture talks about how Israel was exploited first, then they went to the children of men. It wasn't mutually exclusive to us. They destroyed us, and now we'll get some more people. So let's get your ham over there.
Keep rolling.
Let's go get them Indonesian boys over there. Let's get them Aborigines. Let's get these South Koreans, these North Koreans. Let's get these Japanese. Let's get these Chinese. It didn't stop. Anyway, bro.
Great gathers.
Listen, that's what it is, right? He shall gather unto him. Listen, what is he gathering? Death and he's piling bodies up, right? Now they always talk about like the wars in World War I, World War II were like the highest death tolls. They were, but all of the bodies that were racked up afterwards were higher numbers than World War I, World War II. When they took out Saddam and them, you realize there was 500,000 children that were killed alone.
Oh, damn.
Alone, just children, 500,000. They were talking about it was a couple million in World War I, World War II. They wiped out mass amounts of people in Iraq. He just wouldn't tell you. They kept talking about their precision fire. There's not going to be any friendlies taken out. It's very right to the point. It wasn't the case, huh? They were sitting back doing precision bombing while wiping out masses of people. They just wouldn't report the collateral damage. The children of men and Israel was getting wiped out. Israel first, then the children of men. All that fighting in Vietnam was about drug money.
Right. Yeah.
The Golden Triangle, man. We need that crack, that coke, that weed, them drugs. They're the drug runners, the heroin. We need that. Because that's going to sit back here and that money, that dirty money, funds proxy wars. It all that money goes into the military. It's called the military industrial complex. Halliburton, Boeing, all those countries get rich, and a lot of those government workers, they have connections to Halliburton and Boeing and those companies. That's what Cheney did. the Cheney was locked in with these military contracts. They're working both ends. They're using their political ties to fatten their pockets up. We're the only idiots that don't know that. Anyway, I don't think going into Solomon's temple is needed at this point. I think we got enough for the day. Solomon's temple will be done next Sunday or Saturday. I think we finished it. Did we finish it up? No, did we finish that paragraph?
No, not
the proverb of misery.
Yeah. But keep going.
Just one last little part. And that the answer that should be made by the remainder of the people should be by confessing their sins and their transgression of the laws of their country.
You know what confessing your sins means? Being accountable, not lying to yourself. If I can confess, that's the beginning of me fixing it. But a lot of times we live in denial and we keep making sin upon sin upon sin, and we never change what's inside of us. And that was the deterioration of the nation. Never acknowledging the fault, never acknowledging the problem. So we like, if our people can acknowledge the issues, fix what's inside of us, we'd be okay. Well, let's keep going.
Accordingly, we have it transmitted to us in writing that thus did the Most High speak to Solomon in his sleep.
Done?
That's it.
Okay. So, what we're gonna do? Let me see. It's almost 2 o'clock, man. It doesn't make sense to turn up. Next week we'll go into Solomon's temple and finish off this phase. This has been kind of hard to do it, but are any questions? There's a lot of haters out here online that's shooting out this bullshit, man. But it's good. They're getting cut. They're getting cut, man. But it's cool. Y'all keep hearing it. It's all good. You can keep shooting all the little stuff you want on there. You only doing it because you're cut. You're angry. But it's cool. Any questions? All right. Amajim? It's still online.
I don't want to look at it. Press the button.
They did a second wave. The first wave wasn't enough. They did a second wave of BS. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Please listen to us right now. Send Micah Allah and the righteous angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the people of Yasharallah. Also send unto us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, and much love. Spiritual power, and forgive all of our sins. Yahweh Shai come quickly, for in thee is our hope, always and forever. Amen. Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahshai.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the law.
Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahshai.
Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the light to see.
Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahshai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the ram's horn to call the people.
Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahshai. Shaman, Zayat, Lamashach, Yasharallah.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the olive oil to anoint Israel.
Psalms 92. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
It is a good thing to give thanks to the Lord.
And to sing praises unto thy name.
And to sing praises unto thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
And thy faithfulness every night.
And thy faithfulness every night.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
And upon the psaltery.
Upon the psaltery.
Upon the harp.
Upon the harp.
With the solemn sound.
With the solemn sound.
But thou Yahweh.
But thou Yahweh.
Hast made me glad through thy works.
Hast made me glad through thy works.
I will triumph.
I will triumph.
In the works of thy hands.
In the works of thy hands.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
How great are thy works.
How great are thy works.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
A brutish man knoweth not.
A brutish man knoweth not.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
When the wicked spring into grass.
When the wicked spring into grass.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
It is that they shall be destroyed forever.
It is that they shall be destroyed forever.
But thou Yahweh.
But thou Yahweh.
Art most high forevermore.
Forevermore.
For lo.
For lo.
Thine enemies.
Thine enemies.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo.
For lo.
Thine enemies shall perish.
Thine enemies shall perish.
All the workers of iniquity.
All the workers of iniquity
Shall be scattered.
shall be scattered.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
Mine eye also shall see.
My eye also shall see.
My desire.
My desire.
On my enemies.
On my enemies.
And my ear shall hear.
And my ears shall hear.
My desire.
My desire.
Of the wicked.
Of the wicked.
That rise up against me.
That rise up against me.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
shall flourish in the courts of our power.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall still bring forth in old age.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
To show that the Lord is upright.
To show that the Lord is upright.
He is my rock.
He is my rock.
There is no unrighteousness in him.
There is no unrighteousness in him.
By Shem Yahshua.
By
Psalms 133. Shayor.
Shayor.
Hama Iowa.
Iowa.
La Dawad.
La Dawad.
Ana.
Ana.
Ma.
Ma.
Tawab.
Tawab.
Rama.
Rama.
Na'ayam.
Na'ayam.
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Akim.
Akim.
Gam.
Gam.
Yachad.
Yachad.
Hashemad.
Hashemad.
Hatawab.
Hatawab.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hara'ash.
Hara'ash.
Yaran.
Yaran.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hazakwan.
Hazakwan.
Zakwan.
Zakwan.
Haran.
Haran.
Shayaran.
Shayaran.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hayah.
Hayah.
Hadawaf Yawab.
Hadawaf Yawab.
Kator.
Kator.
Haramwan.
Haramwan.
Shayaran.
Shayaran.
Ayo.
Ayo.
Hararya.
Hararya.
Zazayawan.
Zazayawan.
Hayah.
Hayah.
Sham.
Sham.
Hazawab.
Hazawab.
Yahawah.
Yahawah.
Ath.
Ath.
Habaraka.
Habaraka.
Hayayam.
Hayayam.
Ay.
Ay.
Habalam.
Habalam.
By Shem Yahshua.
Hashem Yahushua.
Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Amen.
Aman. Yahweh by Shem Yahshua.
Yahweh by Shem Yahushua.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Shem.
By Shem.
Yahshua.
Yahushua.
Rachnoah.
Rachnoah.
By Shralia.
Shralia.
Rabiath.
Rabiath.
Sepoyah.
Sepoyah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Shem.
By Shem.
Yahshua.
Yahshua.
Rachnoah.
Rachnoah.
By Shralia.
Shralia.
Rabiath.
Rabiath.
Sepoyah.
Sepoyah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Shem.
By Shem.
Yahshua.
Shralia.
Rachnoah.
Rachnoah.
By Shralia.
Shralia.
Rabiath.
Rabiath.
Sepoyah.
Sepoyah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Shem.
By Shem.
Yahshua.
Yahshua.
Rachnoah.
Rachnoah.
By Shralia.
Shralia.
Rabiath.
Rabiath.
Sepoyah.
Sepoyah.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahushua.
All knowledge.
All knowledge.
All wisdom.
All wisdom.
All understanding.
All understanding.
All love.
All love.
All patience.
All patience.
All power.
All power.
Is from Yahweh.
Is from Yahweh.
All power.
All power.
Is from Yahweh.
Is from Yahweh.
All power.
All power.
Is from Yahweh.
Is from Yahweh.
Hashem. Yahushua.
Yahushua.
Water.
Water.
Yah.
Yah.
Aman.
Saluting out in the heavenly order, Yahweh Wakal Yasha Allah, Mina Israel, Majim, Barak, Yahweh.
I want you to do it again. I want you to do it again. Imam Shabbat, everybody.
Yahweh,
Saluting out.
saluting out in the heavenly order. Yahweh Wakal Yasha Allah.
Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai?
Yahweh Shai Wakal Yasha Allah. Men of Israel, Majim. Barak.
Yahweh Shai Thumb.
Kum Yasha.
Kum Yasha.
Kum Yasha.
Kum Yasha.
Kum Yasha.
Kum Yasha.
Yashmata. Turn to face sisters.
Sisters, prepare. Saluting out the daughters of Zion. Men of Israel, Majim. Barak.
Yahweh Shema Thumb Hashem Yahweh Shai.
Yashmata. Dismissed. Fall out. Shalom Israel. Throughout tuning in. See y'all on Monday.